Chapter 811. The directors and invigilators sitting around seem to be used to Su Song and Zhao Jingmin's actions. At this moment, these people were staring at Chun Sini with naked eyes, as if waiting for Chun Sini to be stripped naked. Get lost! Get lost! Chun Sini had been with Yun Jian for so long. Although she was not so weak that she could be trampled on, she was still no match for the man in front of her. After all, there was a huge difference between the physical strength of an ordinary man and a woman. However, when Su Song threw Chun Sini onto the sofa, Chun Sini was still able to stretch out her leg and kick away Su Song, who was about to pounce on her and take off her clothes. At this moment, Chun Sini wanted to tear Zhao Jingmin and the others into pieces. At this moment, she was very regretful. How could she really believe Zhao Jingmin's words? No wonder those girls were crying with their heads down when they left. Photographer, take a picture of her whole body. Damn, this little girl is grown up. She wants to leave? Hee hee. Does she think that our Baiguang is a place where she can come and go as she pleases? Today, you have to be naked even if you don't want to. Do you think I'll let you do whatever you want? Zhao Jingmin changed his friendly appearance from before. At this moment, he was like a villain who had revealed his true colors, making people extremely disgusted. Get lost. Chun Sini kicked Su Song's crotch hard. Su Song howled when Chun Sini suddenly kicked his groin. F***CK. Su Song was on the verge of exploding. F***CK your sister, Su Song. Are you eating SH**T? You can't even handle HB**TCH. Hurry up and do it. Zhao Jingmin saw that Su Song had not taken off Chun Sini's clothes after being kicked by Chun Sini for so long. He spat out a mouthful of vulgarities and was about to take action himself. Actually, Baiguang Model Agency was an entertainment company on the surface. In fact, it was indeed an entertainment company. However, Baiguang was just a model agency. Basically, the company was made up of models, and those models were only promoted because of the unspoken rules. Other than that, they made money by shooting nude films. Of course, if they knew that they were filming this kind of film, who would be willing to film it? Therefore, Zhao Jingmin and his group came up with this idea. They used the Baiguang Model Agency's name to recruit a large group of young girls who were interested in acting and brought them here for an audition. In the audition, if the young lady was willing to obediently submit after a few words of persuasion, everyone would be happy. However, if he met a disobedient girl like Chun Sini during the audition, he would directly strip her naked, from her toes to every part of her body. If she still refused to listen to him, he would have Su Song deal with her directly. If he recorded the entire process, would the little girl dare to be disobedient? If she was still disobedient, he would send all these videos to her school. Reality proved that there was no girl who wasn't afraid of these things being exposed. Therefore, with these recordings, they would do whatever Zhao Jingmin wanted them to do. Even the young ladies who had been recorded by Zhao Jingmin and the others were forcefully raped by Zhao Jingmin and the others. Not only that, but those young girls were also asked to take a lot of nude photos and post them on certain websites for sale. Their methods were quite cruel, enough to ruin the life of an innocent young lady. Chun Sini struggled crazily as she sat up. At this moment, Chun Sini only had one word in her mind. Run. She must escape. Otherwise, she would rather die. Damned woman, run. Still running. Let's see how you can run. Zhao Jingmin grabbed Chun Sini's clothes and gave her another hard slap. Chun Sini was slapped hard. These two slaps had already bruised her face. Chapter 812. Chun Sini's kick landed squarely on Zhao Jingmin's abdomen, causing him to fall to the ground from the sudden force. Chun Sini ignored the pain on her face as she kicked Zhao Jingmin away and tried to run towards the door. Open the door. As long as she opened the door, the girls outside would hear her. As long as someone ran out, she would be saved. Chun Sini only wanted to run now. She ran with all her might. F***CK. How dare you kick me? You be *TCH. I'm going to F***CK you to death today. Zhao Jingmin, who was kicked to the ground by Chun Sini, howled in pain. After standing up, Zhao Jingmin cursed and ran towards Chun Sini with a gloomy face. Chun Sini quickly reached the door with her slender legs. As soon as she reached the door, she reached out her hand and grabbed the door handle. Just as she grabbed the doorknob, she felt someone fiercely pull her clothes and violently drag her back. Zhao Jingmin's strength was very rough. He dragged Chen Sini all the way and threw Chen Sini onto the sofa. Chen Sini punched and kicked Zhao Jingmin crazily again. You be asterisk T6. I'm going to F asterisk CK you to death right now, Zhao Jingmin said as he unbuckled his belt and walked towards Chen Sini. F asterisk CK off. F asterisk CK off. I'm going to kill you. Chen Sini wished that she had Yun Jian's strength. That way, she wouldn't be so helpless. At this moment, Chen Sini's eyes were filled with despair. She now regretted coming here with Zhao Jingmin and even handing over her phone. She knew that Yun Jian was still having dinner at the hotel, so she definitely didn't know that she would encounter such a thing. Chen Sini bit her lips hard at the thought of this, causing her to bleed, but she did not let her tears fall. Chen Sini was prepared to die when she saw Zhao Jingmin unbuckling his belt and walking towards her. She saw a vase not far from her. You be asterisk T6, I'm going to F asterisk CKU, Zhao Jingmin said as he pounced on Chen Sini. At this moment, Chen Sini suddenly pounced towards a long table in the distance. What is she doing? One of the invigilators saw this and couldn't help but exclaim, Quick, stop her. At this moment, Yun Jian and the others had just walked out of the elevator. See, he was holding Yun Jian's hand. Zhang Xiaofeng was already used to it, while Zhang Jian was shocked and silent. He was wondering what kind of man was worthy of Yun's. Wasn't he here? Although he didn't know who he was, he could still feel his. It was enough to make everyone around him tremble. If one were to ask how C.E. could find Yun Jian, it was because Yun Jian had her phone with her at all times. As long as one knew the program, it wasn't difficult to track Yun Jian's phone. The Enhan organization was full of talents. How could they not find out such a small thing? Moreover, Yun Jian didn't install an anti-intrusion system, so C.E. could easily find out her location. This is the 5th floor. It feels so quiet and empty. Master, where is Sini? Zhang Xiaofeng was anxious as soon as he stepped out of the elevator. Turn left, turn right at the end, and you'll reach the waiting room, Yun Jian said. Then, Yun Jian and the others ran in that direction. The Baiguang Model Agency's building was indeed huge. The 5th floor was a photography studio for models to shoot advertisements, so it took up a lot of space. At the same time, every room was soundproof, and there was no one in the corridor, so it felt very quiet. Chapter 8:13. Yun Jian and the rest didn't waste any time. Everyone knew that the faster they ran, the safer Chen Sini would be. When they went around the blind spot, they saw a mysterious door that was half open. There was a guard standing next to the door. The guard looked around from time to time. When he saw Yun Jian and the rest, he obviously trembled violently, as if he had been caught red-handed. Damn it, there must be a ghost. Zhang Xiaofeng growled and quickly ran forward with Yun Jian and the rest. Stop. This is the audition venue. Unauthorized personnel are not allowed to enter. The guard standing guard at the door like a thief stopped Yun Jian and the rest when he saw them running towards him. Baiguang Model Agency had its own rules. Some places were off-limits to staff members, while others were off-limits to outsiders. However, just by looking at the eyes of the gatekeeper who was guarding the door and not letting anyone in, it could be seen that the gatekeeper didn't want anyone to enter. Otherwise, it was just an audition venue. There wouldn't be guards standing guard at the door. Get lost. Zhang Xiaofeng ran in front. Whenever he thought that something might happen to Chen Sini, he would kick the guard's abdomen. You? The guard had just come back to his senses when he was kicked away by Zhang Xiaofeng. Zhang Xiaofeng's outburst was terrifying. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes. Her apprentice indeed had potential. The gatekeeper who was sent flying by Zhang Xiaofeng's kick almost spat out a mouthful of blood. At that moment, the guard's heart was about to break down. Zhang Xiaofeng took the lead and opened the mysterious door. Yun Jian and C.E. followed suit. Zhang Jian was the last to run. Just as he was about to enter the mysterious door, he suddenly stopped and looked at the guard who was kicked away by Zhang Xiaofeng. Suddenly, He became interested. Then, Zhang Jian's fat body slammed onto the guard's body. Zhang Jian cursed. I'll crush you to death. I'll crush you to death. Hey, take this. As soon as he finished speaking, Zhang Jian's butt slammed into the guard's abdomen. Before the gatekeeper could even react from the pain of being kicked away, Zhang Jian's fat body, which weighed at least 160 to 17 kilograms, landed on top of him in the next second. At that moment, the guard fainted on the spot. At that moment, Yun Jian, C.E., and C.E. had already entered the waiting room. Why isn't it done yet? We've been waiting for so long. When they arrived at the waiting room, Yun Jian saw 4 to 5 girls sitting there. They looked to be about the same age as Chun Sini. One of them was chatting with a girl beside her. The audition takes at least 20 minutes. I really don't know what's going on inside. It's so boring to wait. It's already good enough that we have the chance to audition. You should be content. 2 girls were chatting by the side. When Yun Jian, C.E., and C.E. walked in, the 4 to 5 girls present all looked over. When they saw C.E., their faces instantly flushed red. Ah, you guys, are you here for the audition too? One of the 2 girls who were chatting shyly looked at C.E. She immediately abandoned the other girl and ran over. Have you seen a girl? She's this tall. She has 2 ponytails and is wearing a pink top. Her smile is very sweet. Zhang Xiaofeng stood out and asked urgently. In order to look unique today, Chun Sini purposely tied 2 ponytails and wore a pink top. She looked very cute. Chapter 8:14. After saying that, the girl who saw C.E. blush shyly glanced at C.E. Even though C.E. had not spoken a word throughout the conversation and his gaze was fixed on Yun Jian could not help but feel a sense of relief. These girls would still keep their eyes glued to C.E. It cannot be helped. After all, C.E.'s looks were too striking. Sit down and wait for a while. She will definitely come out soon. The girl glanced at C.E. and said to Yun Jian and the other 2 girls, as well as Zhang Jian, who had just walked in. However, before the girl could finish her sentence, Zhang Xiaofeng and Yun Jian had already walked out of the audition room. As Yun Jian walked towards the audition room, C.E. naturally followed behind her and stayed close to Yun Jian. When the girl saw that both of them had left, she felt unhappy. After all, she was pretty, but this handsome guy didn't even look at her. Hence, the girl followed them. Lan Lan, what are you doing? The girl who had been talking to the girl asked as she pulled her back. I'm just following them to take a look. The girl named Lan Lan let go of the other girl's hand and walked towards Yun Jian and C.E. This girl's name was Jiang Lan Lan. She was quite pretty and had some good looks. She was the kind of girl who was tall and beautiful. When Jiang Lan Lan saw that C.E. was ignoring her, she pursed her lips and followed them. Don't go over there. The audition room is still going on. It's not right for you to do this. Jiang Lan Lan saw that C.E. had turned his head slightly, so she swallowed her words. However, C.E. wasn't looking at Jiang Lan Lan. Instead, he was looking at Yun Jian. Open the door. Yun Jian ignored Jiang Lan Lan and said to Zhang Xiaofeng, I told you not to open the door. You'll affect the audition. That's immoral. See, he was obviously not an immoral person. Jiang Lan Lan was unhappy with Yun Jian, so she stood behind them and shouted. Even an idiot could see that C.E.'s doting gaze was because of Yun Jian. Hence, the more Jiang Lan Lan looked at Yun Jian, the more unhappy she felt. While Jiang Lan Lan was still talking, Zhang Xiaofeng had already reached out to open the audition room's door. Click! Zhang Xiaofeng frowned and quickly turned to Yun Jian. Master, the door is locked. This young man called her master? Because C.E. was looking at Yun Jian with doting eyes, Jiang Lan Lan couldn't help but pay more attention to Yun Jian. Obviously, Jiang Lan Lan had taken a liking to C.E. and realized that C.E.'s focus was on Yun Jian. What surprised Jiang Lan Lan was that Zhang Xiaofeng actually called Yun Jian master. Master? This girl was really interesting. She actually learned how to host a house party like a child. Jiang Lan Lan couldn't help but laugh at Yun Jian in her heart. I'll do it. Just as Jiang Lan Lan was about to say something, Yun Jian had already stood in front of Zhang Xiaofeng. She reached out her hand, and there was a metal wire in it. TSK, this metal wire? Are you going to use this to pry open the door? Do you think you're a trained agent in the military? To have this book, Jiang Lanlan couldn't help but speak up. Gotcha! Before Jiang Lanlan could finish her sentence, Yun Jian had already opened the door with a metal wire. Jiang Lanlan instantly shut her mouth. Chapter 8:15. Just as Jiang Lanlan was about to say something, Yun Jian had already kicked the door of the audition room open. Jiang Lanlan had just uttered a word when Yun Jian had already walked into the room. Once the soundproof door was kicked open, the sound from inside the room could be heard everywhere. F***CK. You bunch of idiots. Who told you to stop her? You even let her commit suicide. What should we do now? What should we do now? Zhao Jingmin's voice was like waves of waves that splashed into everyone's ears. However, when his voice reached the door, a few girls who were standing at the door immediately stood up. Suicide? What's going on? Hearing the word suicide, Yun Jian and Zhang Xiaofeng dashed into the room. Ci's eyes flickered slightly, but she also entered the room as fast as she could. When Jiang Lanlan heard the sound from inside, she frowned suspiciously and followed them in. Yun Jian and Zhang Xiaofeng were walking in front, but they were the first to see the scene in front of them. The audition room was very big, but it was dark. The curtains and windows were all closed, giving people the impression that they were standing in a pitch-black environment. Fortunately, the lights were still on, but because the sky was still bright outside, the lights didn't appear bright. Instead, it gave people the feeling that they were in a dark environment. However, Yun Jian and Zhang Xiaofeng weren't attracted by this scene. What attracted them was Chun Sini, who was lying in a pool of blood. From afar, they could see a broken vase on the ground. The vase was shattered into pieces, and one of the pieces was in Chun Sini's hand. This piece of vase had already cut through Chun Sini's left aorta, and Chun Sini's aorta was gushing with blood. Even if the people in the room didn't deliberately think about it, they could still imagine what had happened. Chun Sini was lying on the ground, but her stubborn gaze touched everyone's heart. A warrior would rather be killed than humiliated. Who said that only men could do this? Chun Sini did the same. He would rather die than submit to humiliation. The moment she saw Yun Jian, Zhang Xiaofeng, and the others, Chun Sini's vision gradually became blurry. Her eyelids were struggling to move up and down, and in the end, she closed her eyes. How nice. Zhang Xiaofeng did not give up on her, and Xiao Jian was here too. When they saw this scene, Yun Jian and Zhang Xiaofeng's eyes instantly turned bloodshot. They had the feeling of wanting to tear the person in front of them apart. When Zhao Jingmin and the others suddenly saw Yun Jian and the others in the audition room, he was so scared that his whole body trembled slightly. Why is she here? Zhao Jingmin watched as Yun Jian and Zhang Xiaofeng ran over. For some reason, his heart trembled violently. It felt like his heart was being pounded hard by something, making it hard to breathe. In spite of it, Yun Jian and Zhang Xiaofeng ignored Zhao Jingmin and the others, bypassing them and going straight for Chun Sini. It was fortunate that Chun Sini had just cut her aorta. There was still time for Yun Jian and Zhang Xiaofeng to make it. Hiss, hiss. Yun Jian ran to the curtain and pulled it open immediately, tearing off 2 long pieces of cloth. Don't touch her yet. I'll do it, Yun Jian said as she ran over and lifted Chun Sini's wrist gently, pressing one of the pieces of cloth on Chun Sini's wrist where it was bleeding. Then, Yun Jian used the other piece of curtain cloth as a rope and tied it near Chun Sini's heart joint. Chapter 8:16. Carry her. I'll send you to the hospital, Ce said to Zhang Xiaofeng briefly. Keep an eye on the wound on her wrist. As long as it doesn't bleed, it won't be too late to send her to the hospital. Don't be afraid, Yun Jian said. Her eyes were bloodshot as she looked at Chun Sini's wound. Chun Sini's face was bruised as if she had been slapped twice. Apart from that, Chun Sini's pink girlish jacket was also slightly wrinkled. It seemed like she had put up a huge struggle just to avoid being humiliated. Let me carry her, I'm strong. Zhang Jian saw this and hurried over. With the help of Zhang Xiaofeng and Yun Jian, he carried Chun Sini's thin and weak body on his back. Then, Yi led Zhang Jian downstairs with Zhang Xiaofeng. Yun Jian didn't follow them to the hospital. She knew that Chen Sini would be fine. She had just bandaged Chen Sini's wound. As long as she sent her to the hospital in time, she would be fine. Moreover, Chen Sini had just cut her wrist and didn't seem to have lost too much blood. He drove. Yun Jian was assured that he would be able to send Chen Sini to the hospital in the shortest time possible. Yun Jian had always been a vengeful person, so she didn't leave. Slow down, softer, softer. Zhang Xiaofeng looked at Chen Sini's sorry state. On his handsome face, his dark eyes were covered by a layer of haze. Chen Sini had played with him since they were young. To Zhang Xiaofeng, although Chen Sini was his cousin, they were as close as real siblings. At this moment, Zhang Xiaofeng was worried about Chen Sini's injury and couldn't care less about revenge. Watching Zhang Jian carry Chen Sini out while Zhang Xiaofeng guarded them from the side, while Si got down to drive the car, the three of them disappeared from the place. Yun Jian was squatting on the ground, but now she slowly stood up. The girls who were waiting in the waiting room saw Zhang Jian carrying Chen Sini out of the audition room with her clothes stained with blood. They were terrified and bewildered, but because of their bewilderment, they ran into the audition room. What was going on? Why did the girl who went in just now leave with blood all over her body? When the girl who was with Jiang Lanlan saw that Jiang Lanlan had followed her into the audition room, she frowned and walked over suspiciously. Lanlan, what's going on? Why did that girl leave with blood all over her body? She looked so scary. The girl shuddered and walked towards Jiang Lanlan. I don't know. Jiang Lanlan shuddered and swallowed her saliva. Looking at the horrifying scene, Jiang Lanlan could not care less that Si, whom she had a good impression of at first sight, had left. This was the first time the girls saw someone covered in blood. Usually, they would be scared to death even if they were slightly injured. But when they saw Chen Sini leave with blood all over her body, they shuddered in fear. At this moment, Yun Jian was standing beside the curtain with her back facing Zhao Jingmin and the girls. At this moment, she slowly turned her head around, and the cruel killing intent on her face was on the verge of erupting. Everyone saw that her eyes were covered with blood vessels. Her eyes turned from black to slightly red. Everyone present couldn't help but shiver when they saw this. Chapter 817. Zhao Jingmin's whole body was trembling. He didn't know why, but Yun Jian gave him a different feeling than before. When he met Yun Jian in the bridal shop, Zhao Jingmin's eyes lit up, because at that time, Yun Jian really looked like an ordinary beautiful girl, so youthful and full of vitality. She really looked like a female student in school, giving people an indescribable and suffocating sense of beauty. That was why Zhao Jingmin kept pestering Yun Jian, because to Zhao Jingmin, whether it was him or his company, they really needed a pure and beautiful girl like Yun Jian. Moreover, there were so many girls auditioning today. In fact, Zhao Jingmin only wanted to choose the purest one to be the female lead of the new movie. The new movie this time was called Pure and Innocent Schoolgirl. However, the word pure came with double quotes. That's right, Zhao Jingmin and his group specialized in abducting young girls to shoot nude films and AV. Moreover, the girls he abducted were all pure and innocent girls who had dreams of becoming big stars. At that time, Zhao Jingmin felt that it was a pity that Yun Jian didn't agree to join because he thought that if Yun Jian had come to the audition, then the female lead of the movie would have been none other than her. However, Zhao Jingmin was already very satisfied with Chen Sini. Because Chen Sini's appearance was also clean and sweet, especially in this group of girls, she stood out. Moreover, he tried his best to make her stay. However, he didn't expect that Chen Sini would have the courage to commit suicide in order to avoid being humiliated. In this day and age, there were very few people who would commit suicide in order to protect their innocence. No one was willing to be forced to submit, but in the face of death, innocence didn't seem so important to many people. Just now, Zhao Jingmin's slight tremble had already been noticed by Yun Jian. She slightly curved her lips into a smile. This smile was so eerie and strange that it made people unable to breathe. Jiang Lanlan and the other girls who were watching from afar were also frightened. At this time, the girls huddled together, not daring to walk or go forward. Who slapped her? Yun Jian calmly repeated this sentence again. Tell me. Then, she raised her voice all of a sudden. Her sudden high-pitched voice made everyone shudder in fright. Then she added, You're not going to say it? Fine, then I'll kill all of you. Just as Yun Jian said this, he saw a shifty-eyed invigilator stand out. He pointed his finger at Zhao Jingmin and was so scared that he confessed everything. It's him, it's him, it's him. Perhaps because the door was locked, or Yun Jian could still enter, or her aura was too strong, or her aura, but everyone's aura was too strong. So very well. Yun Jian snickered, sending a chill down everyone's spine. Left or right hand? Yun Jian raised her eyes to look at Zhao Jingmin again. The words that came out of her mouth had a hint of evilness that could not be ignored. This time, Zhao Jingmin was completely scared. He was scared of Yun Jian's frightening tone. Right hand, this is all a misunderstanding. It's not what you think. I think we can have a good talk. Before Zhao Jingmin could finish, Yun Jian flew in front of Zhao Jingmin under everyone's gaze. She lifted her leg, and that slender leg of hers went over his head. With one kick, she viciously kicked Zhao Jingmin from the back. Zhao Jingmin's front body fell to the ground. He had just fallen to the ground, and his two hands were close to the ground. Yun Jian was right behind him. She kicked Zhao Jingmin's right wrist, and with a flip of her hand, a butterfly knife appeared in her hand. Yun Jian was like chopping pork ribs. Her knife viciously stabbed into Zhao Jingmin's right hand's finger. Then came Zhao Jingmin's desperate howl that sounded like a pig being slaughtered. Chapter 8:18. It was chopped. Zhao Jingmin's thumb was chopped off by Yun Jian just like that. That's a finger we're talking about. Moreover, there were bones on his fingers. Yun Jian chopped off Zhao Jingmin's finger like she was chopping up a pig's bone with just one slash. How much strength did she need to do that? Everyone present was dumbfounded. Their eyes were wide open, and their mouths formed an O shape. She was still a young girl. After chopping off Zhao Jingmin's right thumb, there wasn't even the slightest trace of fear on his face. Yun Jian's face was calm. She just looked at Zhao Jingmin, whose thumb was chopped off by her. There was not even a trace of fear on her face. Everyone present saw this scene and had goosebumps all over their bodies. At the moment when everyone was surprised, Yun Jian's voice was heard again. You slapped her twice, didn't you? Yun Jian did not ask this question as a question, but said it in an affirmative tone. There were two palm prints on Chun Sini's face. Yun Jian was observant and could naturally see it. Zhao Jingmin's right wrist was still being stepped on by Yun Jian, but his whole body was rolling on the ground in pain. At this moment, Zhao Jingmin's mind was blank. His perception had been covered by the word pain. Pain, endless pain. Zhao Jingmin regretted it very much at this moment. How did he provoke Yun Jian, the devil? Yes, she was the devil. The devil. She was the Grim Reaper from hell. Yun Jian snorted softly. This snort made everyone's hair stand again. 2 slaps, 2 of your fingers. As soon as Yun Jian finished speaking, she stepped on Zhao Jingmin's wrist, bent down, and chopped down with the butterfly knife. Zhao Jingmin was in so much pain that he could not feel anything. At this moment, he was rolling on the ground, and only one word came out of his mouth. Everyone present couldn't help but feel a chill run down their spines. Yun Jian's brutality sent chills down everyone's spines. Zhao Jingmin's index finger was also chopped off by Yun Jian. However, the moment his index finger was chopped off by Yun Jian let go of Zhao Jingmin's wrist. At the same time, she lifted her foot and stepped on the 2 bloody fingers. Just looking at them from a distance was enough to make one feel scared. PFFF. Yun Jian stepped on the 2 fingers and crushed them like mud. When the invigilators and Jiang Lanlan saw this scene from afar, they were so terrified that they wanted to escape through the door. But in the end, under the pressure of Yun Jian, no one dared to take the lead and run. He was afraid that he would become the next Zhao Jingmin. At this time, Zhao Jingmin had already fainted from the pain. Do you guys want to taste death too? Yun Jian waved the two butterfly knives. She turned around and walked towards the invigilators and the director. No, no, no. It has nothing to do with us. No. Please, we won't dare to do it again. These invigilators and directors were so scared that their bodies were trembling. At this moment, all of them were trembling uncontrollably. Zhang Lanlan was dumbfounded. She didn't expect Yun Jian to be so cruel. How could a good girl like Zhang Lanlan have seen such a bloody scene? She was even secretly glad that she didn't provoke Yun Jian. Chapter 819. Retracting her evil smile, Yun Jian turned around and walked towards the group of examiners. Wow, don't come over. The group of examiners had long been scared half to death. They had all seen how Yun Jian dealt with Zhao Jingmin just now. So cruel. And this little girl's skills were so powerful. Not only were her skills good, but her methods were also extremely cruel. The people present were all ordinary people, and they had never seen such terrifying skills before. Thus, at this moment, they were all scared witless. At this moment, the group of examiners wished they could tear Zhao Jingmin to shreds. Where did Zhao Jingmin, this guy, bring such a terrifying person? She was going to get them all killed. How could Yun Jian listen to the examiner's words? She smiled maliciously, and just as she took 2 steps towards the examiners, a person suddenly walked in through the door. Young madam. Looking at Yun Jian, Immerse's son respectfully called out, Young madam? Even the examiners were still nervous and scared, as well as Zhang Lanlan and the others who were about to faint from the terrifying visual impact, were all shocked and bewildered. There was actually such a title in this day and age, Young madam? But the people present didn't think much of it. Yun Jian looked up at Immerse's son, and she knew that he must have been sent by C.E. Yun Jian lightly pursed her lips, and then her eyebrows lightly raised. Immerse had already turned his gaze towards the examiners. Young madam, do you need me to kill them for you? Immerse said, and a murderous intent surged from his brows. When C.E. sent him the message, Immerse had just found Adam and Lan Su who were taking a walk. The moment he saw C.E.'s message, he immediately rushed here. No, Yun Jian frivolously said. The examiners fiercely let out a sigh of relief. Although Yun Jian had just chopped off 2 of Zhao Jingmin's fingers, fortunately, only Zhao Jingmin and Su Song had attacked Chinsini. If Yun Jian still refused to stop, they would sell Su Song out and protect themselves. Moreover, murder was illegal. Yun Jian naturally couldn't kill them. What the invigilators were afraid of was that this was an enclosed space. Yun Jian was so powerful that no one could run out to call the police. Under such circumstances, if Yun Jian wanted to kill them, it would be no different from crushing an ant. This matter is our fault. We didn't know that she was your friend. We promised to delete all the recordings of your friend. We hope that you can forgive us. The thievish-looking invigilator stood up and said. He thought that Yun Jian had already forgiven them, but who knew that Yun Jian didn't pay any attention to the invigilator's words at all. She turned her head sideways, showing her delicate and beautiful little face to the few of them. Immerse, chop off everyone's genitals here and feed them to the dogs. Yun Jian's words were simply murderous. In an instant, the faces of the invigilators turned pale. Yes, it was also at this moment that Immerse answered and stepped forward. At this moment, Immerse was already holding a small knife in his hand. Always remember the young master's instructions. Whatever Yun Jian said was the young master's order. Immerse walked towards the group of invigilators. Seeing this, Yun Jian also walked towards the door. Just as she walked to the door, before she walked out, Yun Jian turned her head and glanced at Zhang Lanlan and the others. Still not leaving? Are you waiting for death? Chapter 820. After Zhang Lanlan and the rest fled, Yun Jian stepped out of the audition room as well. Just as she stepped out of the audition room, Yun Jian heard the screams that sounded like pigs being slaughtered in the slaughterhouse. The people in the room had ruined the lives of countless innocent girls. It was not enough even if they died 1,000 times. The reason Yun Jian was so cruel to them was because she saw them. She was reminded of Chun Sini, who was covered in blood. If she had not made it here in time, what would have happened to Chun Sini now? Yun Jian had already regarded Chun Sini as her most important friend apart from Lu Fian in her life, so she would not allow anything to happen to her. Once she recalled how pathetic Chun Sini looked when she was brought out, Yun Jian had the urge to kill everyone in the room. However, they would feel worse than death if she crippled them. She would let them experience what it felt like to wish they were dead if they offended someone Yun Jian cared about. Just as she stepped out of the audition room, Yun Jian turned her head slightly and left a sentence that plunged everyone in the room into hell. Baiguang Model Agency will become a thing of the past because of you. Yun Jian left right after that. Just as she stepped out of Baiguang Model Agency, Yun Jian called alluring demon who was overseas. Demonis was the chairman of the company that she had founded in her previous life. Even in the entire world, Demonis had absolute authority. Yun Jian only spoke briefly after she called alluring demon. Country Z's Longmen City's Baiguang Model Agency. I don't want to see it in Longmen City tomorrow. Hearing Yun Jian's words, alluring demon teased. Who's so daring to offend our big boss? Huh. As she spoke, she agreed to Yun Jian's request. Yun Jian hung up after a short conversation with alluring demon. Alluring demon was a very capable person. When Yun Jian first founded the company, she had started from scratch. From the initial startup company to the current existence of the top global multinational company, Demonis was undoubtedly a very shrewd businesswoman. After hanging up the call with the witch, Yun Jian called the police station and directly reported Zhao Jingmin and the others' evil deeds. The police station that received the report immediately sent someone to investigate. In the end, Zhao Jingmin and his group were all captured and thrown into prison. The group of police officers who made the arrest were shocked for a while. How could this group of despicable people who force girls to film obscenities all have their manhood chopped off? One of them even had 2 fingers chopped off. Did he offend someone? The person they had offended had arrived at the entrance of Longmen City's largest people's hospital, Longmen City People's Hospital. As soon as Yun Jian walked in, she walked to the front desk of the hospital. Before the man reached the front desk, Yun Jian heard the voices of the female nurses standing at the front desk discussing the situation. Did you see that? A girl just committed suicide and was sent to the hospital. Suicide? Oh my God, girls nowadays don't know how to love themselves. Isn't that so? She's so young, and she's learning how to commit suicide. I think it's another girl who was hurt by love. Kids nowadays are really open-minded. The nurses could not help chatting about what they had seen just now as they stood together. Just as they spoke, a voice came from behind them. Where's the girl you're talking about now? The nurses were startled by the voice. One of them even yelled, "Oh my God." Chapter 821. As she spoke, the nurse appeared to be afraid. What had the nurses and doctors in the hospital not seen before? The nurses in front of her looked quite young. They were probably inexperienced, which was why they looked a little flustered. Yun Jian turned around and ran towards the emergency room after hearing the nurse's words. After taking 2 steps, she stopped and turned around to look at the group of nurses. She didn't commit suicide because she was hurt by love. Don't gossip behind people's backs. After Yun Jian finished speaking, she turned around and ran towards the emergency room, ignoring the nurses' reactions. The nurses who stood there were stunned for a few seconds. One of them even spat out, "What are you talking about? Is she crazy? Who knows? Forget it, forget it. Don't talk about it. Hurry up and get to work," another nurse added. Yun Jian had already arrived at the emergency room's entrance. Just as she ran into the emergency room, she saw Zhang Xiaofeng and Zhang Jian sitting at the entrance. See, he was standing beside the emergency room's bench. How is he? Yun Jian walked over and asked. He's still being resuscitated. Zhang Xiaofeng covered his forehead with his hand and said in a muffled voice. Even though she couldn't see Zhang Xiaofeng's expression, she could tell that Zhang Xiaofeng's expression was definitely one of misery. He'll be fine. Yun Jian walked over and said softly. There were 3 rows of benches beside the emergency room. Zhang Xiaofeng and Zhang Jian each sat on one, leaving one empty seat. Ce pulled Yun Jian and discreetly made Yun Jian sit down. He himself was standing. 2 hours later, the emergency room's lights finally went off. When a doctor opened the door and came out, Zhang Xiaofeng's heart almost stopped. "Doctor, how is it?" Zhang Xiaofeng was the first to stand up and walk over. "Fortunately, you sent him here in time. The hospital happened to have type A blood, and he's still receiving blood transfusions. However, his condition has mostly stabilized, and he's fine now." The doctor's words were even more pleasant than the sound of nature to everyone's ears. Zhang Xiaofeng heaved a sigh of relief. Yun Jian already knew this would happen, so she wasn't surprised. Half an hour later, Chun Sini was transferred to the ward. Chun Sini hadn't woken up yet. Although she was out of danger, she was still seriously injured. If the blood rejected her during the blood transfusion, she would die if it wasn't discovered in time. Therefore, they needed someone to keep watch at night. No matter what, Zhang Xiaofeng said that he had to keep watch tonight. Besides, they would definitely inform Chun Sini's parents about such a big thing. Yun Jian went home after making sure that Chun Sini would be fine. Then, she asked Zhang Xiaofeng to call her immediately if anything happened. Zhang Jian carried Chun Sini downstairs and to the hospital today. He was careful and fast. He deserved a lot of credit. Indeed, having great strength had its benefits. Now that he heard that Chun Sini was fine, he went home with peace of mind. When Yun Jian and Ce arrived home, it was already past 10 at night. Xiao Yunzhu and the other two had already gone to bed. Hearing Yun Jian and Ce's voices, Qin Yiru put on a jacket and stood at the stairs. "You're back? Go upstairs and rest," Qin Yiru said. "Okay, Mom." Yun Jian nodded and went upstairs with Ce. The moment Yun Jian went upstairs, Ce pulled her to his room. The next morning, just before dawn. Since her rebirth, Yun Jian didn't get up for a morning run. Instead, she rushed to the hospital as soon as she woke up. Chapter 822. Before arriving at the People's Hospital of Longmen City, Yun Jian stopped in front of a fruit shop near the hospital. "Young lady, do you want to buy anything?" The shop owner hurried out to call out when he saw the arrival of business. He saw Yun Jian glancing at his stall a few times, as if she could not decide which fruit to buy. The shop owner was very good at doing business. He pointed at a fruit basket not far away and said to Yun Jian, "Young lady, if you really don't know what to give, why don't you just give a fruit basket? There's all kinds of fruits in this basket. There's bound to be something you like." The shop owner was very good at reading people. He could tell that Yun Jian was buying fruits as a gift at first glance. Yun Jian pressed her lips together and took the fruit basket. "It's a total of 28 yuan, the shop owner said as he rubbed his hands. Prices were relatively low in this era, so 28 yuan for a fruit basket was considered expensive. Before Yun Jian could take out the money, Ce had already taken out a bank card from her pant pocket and passed it to the shop owner. "By card." The shop owner was dumbfounded by the bank card Ce gave him. The shop owner reacted quickly and forced a smile. "Young man, we don't accept cards in our shop. Do you have cash?" The shop owner's tone was a little awkward. "I do." Yun Jian glanced at the shop owner with a smile and took out a 100 yuan note from her pants pocket as she spoke. "Here." Yun Jian passed it to the shop owner. The shop owner felt like he was about to faint when he saw the 100 yuan note. It was such a huge amount of money. Did he not have enough loose change at his shop? "Hold on, I'll go to the shop opposite to give you the change," the shop owner said, and was about to go to the shop opposite to see if he could get some loose change. "No need," Yun Jian said. The shop owner was dumbfounded by Yun Jian's reply. She had loose change? This was the shop owner's first thought. "There's no need to look for it," Yun Jian said in the next second. With that, she walked towards the hospital with Ce. This caused the shop owner to be dumbfounded. The remaining money could be used to buy 3 or 4 blue fruits. They didn't want it anymore. These two young lovers were really rich. The shop owner was very surprised, but he still shook his head helplessly. Suddenly, he couldn't help but feel that he had made a big deal today. Yun Jian was in a hurry to go to the hospital to see Chun Sini, so she took big strides. 1 step from Ce's long legs was equivalent to 2 steps from Yun Jian, so Yun Jian quickened her pace. When they arrived at the door of Chun Sini's ward, they looked in from the outside and saw that there were already many people standing inside. Since something like this had happened to Chun Sini, it was obvious that the culprit must be Chun Sini's relatives. It was then that Yun Jian and Si walked in. Just as Yun Jian stepped through the door, she saw Chun Sini, who had already woken up, being fed chicken soup by a slim and young-looking woman. Chun Sini looked a little weak, but she had recovered a lot of energy. When she saw Yun Jian walk in, Chun Sini called out quickly, "Jian Jian, you're here." Her voice was soft, but Yun Jian heard her loud and clear. "I'm in." Yun Jian nodded and entered the room under everyone's watchful eyes. "Mom, this is my friend. She saved me yesterday," Chun Sini told the young-looking woman who was feeding her chicken soup. Chapter 823. This young-looking woman was actually in her 40s. Because she took good care of herself, she looked very young. This young woman was called Hixia, Chun Sini's mother. She was beautiful, and her appearance was also outstanding. Of course, because she was old, her appearance would definitely deteriorate. "Did you save Xiao Yi?" Thank you so much." Hixia looked at Yun Jian and quickly put down the chicken soup in her hand. She walked over and thanked Yun Jian profusely. "Sini is my friend, so it was natural that she saved her." Yun Jian pursed her lips and said this. Although she heard Yun Jian's words, Hixia was still very grateful to Yun Jian. After Hixia thanked Yun Jian, a middle-aged man walked over from the group of people in the room. This middle-aged man was Hixia's husband, Chun Sini's father. His name was Chun Jinchuan. After Hixia thanked him profusely, Chun Jinchuan walked over and bowed deeply to Yun Jian. "Xiao Yi is the child that we have doted on since she was young. If anything happens to her, then please accept our thanks." Zhang Xiaofeng, who was standing at the side, walked over and waved his fist. He said with interest, Hey, we're all on the same side. I haven't had the chance to tell you guys. This is my master, Yun Jian. I told you guys before that I'm so good now because I learned from her." As he spoke, the group of people around him smiled slightly. It was as if they were affected by Zhang Xiaofeng's lively atmosphere. Yun Jian also smiled politely to show her friendliness. She wasn't particularly good at being polite to people. It's really infuriating. That Baiguan model agency is actually doing this kind of shady business. If you ask me, Jinchuan, you should destroy it. This room was filled with Chun Sini's relatives. At this moment, a man with a beer belly stood up and suggested to Chun Jinchuan. Chun Jinchuan was a rich boss, and he was as capable as Zhang Xiaofeng's father. Chun Jinchuan also owned a company. He was a talent himself, and the company had recruited many talents. Therefore, Chun Jinchuan's company was quite big. Although Chun Jinchuan's company was big, it couldn't bring down Baiguan Model Agency. This was because Baiguan Model Agency was not something that could be destroyed by ordinary people. As for the relatives who came to visit Chun Sini, it was purely because Chun Jinchuan was rich that they came to visit Chun Sini. If it weren't for the fact that Chun Jinchuan's family owned a large company, how could these relatives all come to visit Chun Sini on the morning of her accident? He reckoned that all of them had already run far away. Just as the man with the beer belly finished speaking, another man who looked more experienced rushed to flatter Chun Jinchuan. "Don't spout nonsense. When I was reading the newspaper this morning, I saw that Baiguan Model Agency was banned for some reason. And it must have been done by someone. It's such a big company." The newspaper headline just 2 days ago said that Baiguan Model Agency was the most capable new company representative, but it was banned this morning. What does this mean? It must have offended someone. As the experienced man spoke, he changed the topic to Chun Jinchuan. "If you ask me, only you, Chun Jinchuan, can run Baiguan Model Agency. For a big boss like you, a mere Baiguan Model Agency should be a piece of cake, right?" These relatives who were lying through their teeth were the funniest. Chun Jinchuan hadn't said anything yet, but they were already talking about countless topics. Baiguan Model Agency was banned? "Master, did you do it?" Zhang Xiaofeng was shocked for a while. Then he turned to look at Yun Jian and asked, Zhang Xiaofeng's voice stunned the two people who were flattering Chen Jinchuan. Chapter 824. Baiguang Model Agency was considered a big shot in the eyes of the people present. It was one of the top companies in the country, let alone in Longmen City. As for why the two men had boasted about a mere Baiguang Model Agency, it was because they thought too highly of Chen Jinchuan's company. They had no idea how big Chen Jinchuan's company was and how it was better than Baiguang Model Agency. They had spouted everything just to flatter him. What they did not know was that their words sounded like they were praising Chen Jinchuan on the surface. But in fact, Chen Jinchuan was not even willing to look at them. It was because people like them were not likable. When Zhang Xiaofeng turned to look at Yun Jian and asked if Baiguang Model Agency was the one who banned Yun Jian, everyone present was dumbfounded. Then, the old man with the beer belly and the other man who looked rather experienced held their stomachs and started laughing loudly. Ha ha! It was only when they were done laughing that they looked at Yun Jian oddly. What? Did I hear wrongly? You're saying that she's the one who banned Baiguang Model Agency? Are you kidding me? The man with the beer belly laughed while holding his stomach. He then turned to look at Yun Jian and asked with a scornful gaze, "Little girl, how old are you? You're in junior high, aren't you?" As he spoke, the man with the beer belly turned to look at Chen Jinchuan, the sneer on his face vanishing instantly. "Jinchuan, just tell me. Your daughter was bullied by Baiguang Model Agency. How would you let those people go? You're really something, though. You've built a company by yourself and even banned a big company like Baiguang Model Agency. You're really something, kid." The man with the beer belly spoke to Yun Jian with contempt, but when he turned to talk to Chen Jinchuan, his face was filled with admiration. There was a sense of flattery in his admiration that could not be ignored. "I'm not the one who banned Baiguang Model Agency. I don't have that ability." Chen Jinchuan sighed and clenched his fists. His daughter had been bullied by Baiguang Model Agency, but he didn't have the ability to personally shut Baiguang Model Agency out. Although this feeling was unpleasant, Chen Jinchuan was grateful to the person who had banned Baiguang Model Agency from the bottom of his heart. Chen Jinchuan even thought that to be able to ban Baiguang Model Agency in less than a day, the other party must be a famous company in the country, or even an international company. Just as Chen Jinchuan was thinking about this in admiration, a pleasant and calm female voice was heard. "That's right. I was the one who banned Baiguang Model Agency." Was she the one who banned them? Her? Everyone present turned their heads in surprise, only to see Yun Jian pursing her lips. Her red lips curled up as she spoke. Baiguang Model Agency was banned under her orders. No matter what kind of background Baiguang Model Agency had, what was the use of Baiguang Model Agency if a company under Baiguang Model Agency couldn't even be banned? Everyone present was stunned when they heard Yun Jian's words. What? Baiguang Model Agency was really banned by Yun Jian? Was there a mistake? She was just a child. Chapter 825. Even Chen Jinchuan was dumbfounded, confused by Yun Jian's words. It was not that Chen Jinchuan looked down on Yun Jian, but what kind of existence was Baiguang Model Agency? At least in Longmen City, Baiguang Model Agency was considered a big name. It was even close to breaking out of Longmen City and becoming the top entertainment company in the country. In other words, a large company like Baiguang Model Agency would one day become the top entertainment company in Country Z. Since it had been established for a long time, it had nurtured countless famous models and artists until now. It had a bright future ahead of it. Chen Jinchuan's company might still be on par with Baiguang Model Agency, but it was impossible for Chen Jinchuan to shut Baiguang Model Agency out. That was why Chen Jinchuan was so shocked. Yun Jian said that she was the one who shut down Baiguang Model Agency. Who was she? What force would shut down Baiguang Model Agency? The man with the beer belly and a more experienced man were completely dumbfounded. After the initial shock, however, distrust was written all over their faces. "Come on, young lady. I understand that you want to take credit, but Baiguang Model Agency isn't something you can shut down just because you say so. We have to look at the actual situation. You can't just spout nonsense like that." The man with the beer belly added. He thought that Yin Jian was eager to show off in front of Chun Jinchuan, and that Yin Jian wanted to take credit in front of the latter like he did. Yin Jian understood what he meant, but Yin Jian only smiled faintly and did not bother to explain herself. Take credit for what? Are you crazy? Does my master need to take credit? Zhang Xiaofeng could not hold himself back and shouted. That's right, my Jian Jian doesn't need it. Chun Sini was lying on the bed. If she was not held down by He Xia, she would have stood up to speak up for Yun Jian. The man with the beer belly fell silent after Zhang Xiaofeng, and Chun Sini scolded him. Zhang Xiaofeng and Chun Sini's parents owned big companies while the man with the beer belly was just a poor worker. Once they heard that Chun Sini was in trouble, they came to visit her immediately to leave a good impression on Chun Jinchuan. The man with the beer belly dared not refute Zhang Xiaofeng and Chun Sini's words. Be it Zhang Xiaofeng or Chun Sini's father, they were both directors of a collective company. This beer-bellied man and his group of people flattered them. Wasn't it because they wanted them to remember their family ties and become rich with them? Zhang Xiaofeng, Sini, that's enough. Chun Jinchuan spoke with a frown. Zhang Xiaofeng was the man with the beer belly. Once Chun Jinchuan spoke, everyone else fell silent. Chun Jinchuan smiled at Yun Jian awkwardly and said, No matter what, Xiao Yi was saved because of you. The doctor said that her injury isn't serious, and she could be discharged next Saturday morning. To express my gratitude, I'll invite you to our house for dinner next Saturday. Otherwise, I'd really feel bad. Other than Chun Sini and He Xia, who knew about it, everyone else was taken aback by Chun Jinchuan's sudden invitation. In spite of it, Yun Jian had saved Chun Sini's life, so it was not strange for Chun Jinchuan to invite her. Jian, come. You must come to my house next Saturday. The doctor said that I have to rest at home for a month after I'm discharged. I'll be bored to death if you don't come. Chun Sini invited with a smile. Chapter 826. Chun Jinchuan grinned when he heard that Yun Jian had agreed to come to his house for dinner next Saturday. He found Yun Jian, his daughter's best friend, rather pleasing to the eye. It's decided then. And this young man, come along next Saturday as well. The more the merrier, huh? As Chun Jinchuan spoke, he noticed Si Yi, who was standing beside Yun Jian, and extended a token invitation as well. Before Si Yi could say anything, however, Yun Jian had already declined on his behalf. He's busy next Saturday. He probably won't be able to make it. Hearing that Yun Jian had declined on behalf of Si Yi, Chun Jinchuan added, that's quite a pity. Actually, Chun Jinchuan had only invited Si Yi because he thought that Si Yi would be coming with Yun Jian to visit Chun Sini. Out of courtesy, he could not just invite Yun Jian alone. It would be rather awkward for Si Yi to accept such an invitation. Under such circumstances, Yun Jian had declined on behalf of Si Yi to avoid embarrassment. Yun Jian put down the fruit basket before she left, eliciting another round of thanks from He Xia and Chun Jinchuan. Yun Jian left the hospital with Si Yi after learning that Chun Sini was all right. Zhang Xiaofeng agreed to Chun Sini's request and sent Yun Jian downstairs from the hospital ward until they left Longmen City People's Hospital. Master, don't worry. Sini will be fine with us taking care of her. I'm planning to take a day off this week to accompany Chun Sini in the hospital. She won't be bored then. Master, please thank Zhang Jin on my behalf. It's all thanks to his strength that he carried Sini into the car and down to the hospital. Zhang Xiaofeng said a lot to Yun Jian in one breath. Yun Jian merely nodded. I'll tell him when we go to school tonight. Yun Jian reassured Zhang Xiaofeng and bade farewell to Zhang Xiaofeng before she turned to leave with Si Yi side by side. Longmen City People's Hospital was near the downtown area. Not long after Yun Jian and Si Yi left the hospital, Yun Jian suddenly remembered something. I'm going to buy a cell phone for my mom and brother. It's convenient for us to contact, Yun Jian said to Si Yi as she stood by the roadside. Due to what happened to Qin Yuru not too long ago, Qin Yuru and Yun Yi, so that it's convenient for them to contact. Even if the previous incident happened, she could use the program to lock the phone's address and find the person immediately. Okay, Si Yi said softly and reached out to hold Yun Jian's hand, walking to the opposite side of the road on the right. It was a downtown area. Cell phones were becoming popular among the rich now. In 1999, Nokia was the first to launch the first WAP cell phone, the Nokia 7110, in country Z. Yun Jin caught up with the trend and bought two Nokia 7110 cell phones for Qin Yiru and Yun irrespectively. It was past 9 in the morning. Yun Jian and Si had just returned home to see Qin Yiru and Gu Junjian arranging the barbecue equipment. Spring was coming. As the weather was getting warmer, the bone-chilling cold of winter had passed. It was the season where everything was rejuvenating. This meant that spring had arrived. Spring always made people think of spring outings. Not only would schools organize spring outings, Gu Junjian had applied for a day's leave from the military and prepared the barbecue equipment to bring Xiao Yunju and the other children for a picnic. It was the weekend, and Yun Jian did not have to go to school, so Gu Junjian had decided to bring the children for a picnic at the last minute. Chapter 827. In the morning, when they heard Gu Junjian say that they were going out for a picnic, Xiao Yunju and the other two were so happy that they didn't know what to do. At this moment, Xiao Yunju, Duan Li, and Duan Yi had already put on their exquisite backpacks and stood by the stairs, watching Qin Yiru and Gu Junjian pack up the barbecue equipment. No way, how can this be? You guys are all going out for a picnic, but I'm not allowed to go? You're just messing with me. When Yun Jian and Si Yi reached the stairs, they heard a rather irritable male voice coming from upstairs. They didn't need to listen to know that it was Adam. You're seriously injured. Eating barbecue isn't good for your body. Can you resist eating if you go with us? So you can't go. Mo Sen's voice came soon after. Adam looked quite normal, but in front of delicious food, he really had no self-control at all. F***CK. You're clearly leaving me alone at home, aren't you? Mo-san, you bastard. Adam's voice slowly rose, and then he fell back down. It sounded more like he was talking to someone else. Shuang, you talk sense to me. Is there anyone like Mo's son? Didn't we agree to share blessings and misfortunes together? Shuang seemed to chuckle slightly, his voice carrying a bit of suppressed laughter. All right, who told you to be injured like this? I think you should just listen to me, haha. Isn't it all because of that girl Lan Su? Adam seemed to be very angry as he spoke. Adam and the other two had just finished talking upstairs when Yun Jian, who was standing downstairs, saw Lan Su, who had just returned from the main entrance, standing at the stairs, preparing to go upstairs. Yun Jian. Lan Su had just returned from outside, and she called out to Yun Jian softly. Yun Jian nodded and smiled slightly. Lan Su naturally heard the conversation between Adam and the other two upstairs. At this moment, Lan Su had gone upstairs before Yun Jian. Yun Jian and Si Yi walked behind Lan Su leisurely. As soon as they reached the second floor, Adam and the other two who were standing by the stairs on the second floor were slightly stunned. Damn it, damn girl. Why didn't you say anything when you came up? Adam was just talking about Lan Su when he suddenly saw Lan Su coming up from downstairs. He cursed. Lan Su cast a sidelong glance at Adam. Then, she walked past Adam and the other two, intending to head back to her room. Adam gulped. Just as he thought Lan Su was angry, he heard Lan Su turn to Adam and say, I won't go with you. I'll stay at home with you. This could be considered as a little compensation for Adam. After all, Adam was injured because of him. If he also went to the cookout and left Adam at home, no one would feel good. No, damn girl, you. I didn't mean that. Adam thought that Lan Su was angry. He irritably reached out to touch his head and said, I don't want you to stay at home. Who wants you to accompany me? Just looking at you makes me annoyed. After saying that, Adam turned around and walked away in a hurry. These two are really conflicted. Shuang couldn't help but laugh loudly. Then he walked in front of C.E. and happily called out, Young master, we're leaving. Hurry up and go downstairs. Qin Yiru shouted from downstairs. Just as Qin Yiru shouted this sentence, there was a dong 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 sound at the door. The door wasn't closed, but the person outside the door still knocked symbolically. Is there anyone here? Someone peeked in to take a look. When a man saw Qin Yiru in the house, he brought a few men into the house without a care in the world. Chapter 828. When a man whom Qin Yuru referred to as her cousin walked in, there were two people following behind him. Qin Yuru's cousin poked his head in when he saw the door open. When he saw that there was someone in the house, he brought his wife and daughter into the house. "Oh, Yuru, you're here. I thought you'd gone out," Qin Yuru's cousin said with a chuckle despite knowing the answer. As he spoke, he pulled his wife and daughter into the house. "Cousin, why are you here?" Qin Yuru quickly put down the barbecue tool she was fiddling with and stood up as she spoke. I heard that you're getting married. Since I'm free today, I thought I'd come to give you some money as a wedding gift," Qin Yuru's cousin said as he walked in through the door. Qin Yuru's cousin's name was Lin Jiahao. Lin Jiahao was a distant relative on Zhang Meihua's side. Zhang Meihua had many siblings in her generation. Naturally, Qin Yuru had many cousins as well. Lin Jiahao was one of them among this group of cousins. Back then, due to the lack of family planning, Zhang Meihua's mother's generation, who was also Yun Jian's grandmother's mother's generation, had children one after another despite living in poverty. They were very fertile. Therefore, to Qin Yuru, her cousins had reached a whole new level. She had a total of 10 to 20 cousins, excluding the cousins on her father's side. Therefore, Qin Yuru did not have much contact with her cousins like Lin Jiahao. Therefore, when she saw Lin Jiahao, Qin Yuru was clearly stunned. After all, Lin Jiahao did not even come when she and Yun Gang got married. Yet, he suddenly appeared here today, claiming that he was here to give her and Gu Yunjian's wedding gift. However, before Qin Yuru could think further, Lin Jiahao had already walked over with a red packet in his hand. He said courteously as he handed it over, "My cousin's family is poor. We don't have much money. When I heard that you're getting married, I rushed over from home. My cousin's family used to be so poor that we didn't even have enough to eat. Now that I know that you're getting married, I have to rush over to give you my blessings." He was giving money as a wedding gift. In rural terms, it was to pray for peace and good luck. Qin Yuru was embarrassed to not accept it. "Cousin, you're too kind. Sit down and have a cup of tea." Qin Yuru took the money and ran to the kitchen. Not long after that, she came out with a pot of hot water. Lin Jiahao didn't feel awkward at all. Instead, he smiled casually and pulled his wife and daughter to sit down as well. Was Qin Yuru's mother's family. Xiao Yunzhu and the other two looked disappointed. However, the three of them were well-behaved. They didn't cry or make a fuss. "Mom, are we leaving?" Yunjian came downstairs when she heard her mother's voice. "Not yet. We have guests at home. Let's go later," Qin Yuru said to Yunjian. Then, she walked over to Lin Jiahao and the other two with a pot of hot water. To Qin Yuru, a visitor was a guest. Even if Lin Jiahao, her cousin, didn't have much contact with her, since he was here, she had to treat him well. Lin Jiahao took the tea from Qin Yuru's hands. He looked at Gu Junjian as he drank and asked, "This is my cousin-in-law, right?" "Yes." Qin Yuru nodded happily. Her face was filled with a smile that couldn't be ignored. "Then, this is your daughter, Yunjian?" Lin Jiahao looked at Yunjian, who had just come downstairs. His eyes flashed as he asked. Hearing Lin Jiahao's question, Qin Yuru nodded. "Yes." Chapter 829. The news that Qin Yuru had a capable daughter who was the director of new crews had spread throughout Xinjiang town. Not just Xinjiang town, Zhang Meihua had visited all her relatives and friends after the news was exposed, bragging proudly about Yun Jian's capabilities. Now, there was not a single one of Zhang Meihua's relatives and friends who did not know about Yun Jian's identity as new crew's director. Lin Jiahao must have rushed here to give money after hearing that Qin Yuru was getting married soon because of Yun Jian's identity. Xiao Jian is an obedient child. She's filial too, heh. Qin Yuru said in relief, but did not praise her daughter's excellence in front of Lin Jiahao. It was not appropriate to say it in front of outsiders. Xian, take a good look at your cousin. She's the director of a company at such a young age. What about you? You only know how to go out and have fun. Lin Jiahao couldn't help but say as he poked his daughter's hand. What kind of game is this? Lin Jiahao couldn't help but say. Lin Jiahao's daughter was called Lin Xian. She was not particularly good-looking, probably because she inherited Lin Jiahao's looks. Lin Jiahao's wife, who was the woman sitting beside him with a dark expression, had a decent figure and above-average looks. Lin Jiahao's wife was called Shintalian. She was rather good-looking. At least, there were not many people who looked like her in the countryside. It was just that Shintalian was upset when Lin Jiahao praised Yunjian and criticized their daughter. Shintalian was unhappy. Her unhappiness was written all over her face. Stretching her hand, she pinched Lin Jiahao's arm harshly. Of course, her gesture did not escape Yunjian's eyes. Qin Yuru did not see it, though. It's good that children like to play. Lively children will be successful in the future. Qin Yuru commented in a friendly manner. Humph! Hypocrite! Lin Xian glared at Qin Yuru in disgust when she heard what the latter said before turning away. That temper. Keep it in check. Lin Jiahao slapped Lin Xian at once. He then told Qin Yuru apologetically, My Xian is like that. Don't be mad at her. All children are like that. Qin Yuru chuckled awkwardly. Gu Junjian was currently sitting on the sofa with Qin Yuru. Yunjian was leaning against the sofa with her arms crossed. Lin Jiahao chatted idly with Qin Yuru for a while more before he asked, Yuru, your daughter's company is doing so well. Why don't we let Xuan's company? She's doing's company. One more person, isn't that right? He Yunjian's Yuru's, why he's this. It was not a question, but a direct answer. He did not even ask if Qin Yuru and Yunjian agreed to it. Lin Jiahao made it sound like it was a great honor for him to let his precious daughter follow Yunjian to new cruise. Chapter 830. Lin Xian was indeed not very good-looking. Shintalian was tall, and she was 165 meters tall. She was the standard height of a woman, and she looked all right. Lin Jiahao, on the other hand, was not very good-looking, and he was short. Lin Jiahao was only 164 meters tall, and he was even shorter than Shintalian. The couple's genes were intertwined. Logically speaking, Lin Xian should not be short, even if Lin Jiahao was not that tall. But for some reason, Lin Xian was only 152 meters tall. 152 meters. If Lin Xian was pretty, it would not be a big deal. In fact, as long as she was pretty and pleasing to the eye, according to modern standards, as long as she was good-looking, even if she was 150 meters tall, people would say that she was cute and adorable. But Lin Xian was short, and she was also fat. She was only 152 meters tall, but she weighed more than 120 kilograms. On top of that, Lin Xian's nose was flat, and her face was fat. She was not cute at all. Therefore, when Shintalian complimented her daughter, Lin Xian, on the other hand, Yunjian turned around and chuckled unkindly. Despite that, Yunjian did not make a sound. Of course, if Qin Yuru had praised Lin Xian's looks, Yunjian would not have found it funny. But when it came from Lin Xian's mother, Shintalian, it felt completely different. It was said that family members did not praise their own family, but Shintalian, she, on the other hand, was praising her own daughter to the heavens. Qin Yuru, who was questioned, was rather embarrassed. After all, to Qin Yuru, new cruise was not hers, but Yunjian's. This was something that Qin Yuru could not agree to Lin Jiahao's request. Moreover, Lin Jiahao and the others had suddenly come. To be honest, Qin Yuru did not like them at all. She had thought that Lin Jiahao and the others were starting to value their family. Today, they had come to give her dowry money because of her wedding. But Qin Yuru did not expect this at all. Why did her cousin suddenly come to visit? So this was his motive. Qin Yuru's heart sank. How is it? Yuru, my Xian isn't bad at all. Other than English, she's in the top 5 in all her subjects. She will definitely be a talent in the future. If I let Xian follow your daughter, the daughter will have picked up a treasure early. When Shintalian saw Qin Yuru pause, she panicked and urged her. When Qin Yuru had married Yun Gang, Lin Jiahao and the others had looked down on Qin Yuru the most. They had thought that Qin Yuru would never amount to anything in this lifetime. Therefore, when Qin Yuru and Yun Gang got married, Lin Jiahao and the others didn't even come to congratulate them, let alone give them money. However, when he heard that Qin Yuru's daughter, Yun Jian, was the director of new cruise, Lin Jiahao could not take it anymore. It was only natural that they would be jealous. After all, new cruise's daily sales were in the tens of millions. All of this belonged to Qin Yuru's daughter, whom they had looked down on back then. I can't make decisions about new cruise. I'm just cooking at home now. I'm not at work. Qin Yuru smiled awkwardly, her tactful rejection not giving anyone a chance to find a loophole. It was just that when Lin Jiahao heard Qin Yuru say that she could not make decisions, his gaze shifted to Yun Jian. You're Xiao Jian, aren't you? Haha, my Xian is excellent. Can you let her intern in new cruise with you? Lin Jiahao's attitude was sincere and tactful. It was just that Yun Jian rejected Lin Jiahao's tactful attitude decisively. No. Chapter 831. Lin Jiahao and Shintalian's fawning faces froze in an instant. Tell me, what kind of young lady would reject someone's invitation so straightforwardly? It was undeniable that Lin Jiahao and Shintalian were shocked by Yun Jian's straightforward rejection. But who was Lin Jiahao? He was so thick-skinned that even an atomic bomb could not penetrate his skin. How could he be discouraged by Yun Jian's rejection? With the money he had given to Qin Yuru for nothing? Since he had given it away, he had to get his money back. Hee, you can't do that now, can you? I know, I understand. Haha, new crews must be doing something now. Reformation, right? They've even changed a bunch of employees. They're selecting talents, right? Lin Jiahao had some understanding of new crews, so what he said had some basis in fact. It's fine if you can't take my Xian in now. She's still young anyway. When she grows up, she'll graduate from a proper university. It shouldn't be hard for her to become a manager in new crews then, huh? Lin Jiahao indulged in his own self-praise. Yun Jian ignored him. Yun Jian did not want to bother with someone like Lin Jiahao. Qin Yuru only smiled awkwardly, but it was not hard to tell that Qin Yuru was extremely embarrassed. After all, Lin Jiahao had come to her door to beg her daughter to join her company. Moreover, it was mainly because of Lin Jiahao's daughter. It was a little unsightly. Under such circumstances, Qin Yuru naturally did not like it. Moreover, this was not her company, but her daughter's company. Qin Yuru was even more displeased now. Ping, ping, ping. Ping, ping, ping. Ping, ping. There was a commotion on the stairs, then something made of metal rolled down. Lin Jiahao and the rest who were sitting downstairs were shocked. Then, Shui-Ying leaped down from the railing on the second floor. Lin Jiahao and the other two just happened to be sitting facing the stairs, and they happened to see Shui-Ying leap down from the second floor. Yun Jian was standing with her back to the stairs, but Yun Jian could hear the sound behind her. Seeing Shui-Ying suddenly jump down from the second floor, Lin Jiahao and the other two were scared out of their wits on the spot. Only then did they react. Oh my God! Lin Jiahao and the other two screamed in unison. They looked as if their guts were about to burst. Shui-Ying was stunned for 2 seconds when he saw an outsider. He picked up the silver spoon from the floor and went upstairs as if nothing had happened. Halfway up the stairs to the second floor, Shui-Ying turned his head to look at Qin Yuru and asked casually, "Are you leaving?" "Not yet. Just wait a little longer," Qin Yuru replied. Shui-Ying nodded and went upstairs with the spoon. How could he say that he and Imo-san had accidentally dropped the spoon when they were discussing which spoon to use for the barbecue upstairs? He also wouldn't say that it was their young master who threw the spoon down. Until Shui-Ying went upstairs, Lin Jiahao and the other two were still in a state of shock. Someone actually jumped down from the second floor and was not injured at all. He couldn't have been trained, right? Although there was a long scar on Shui-Ying's neck, Shui-Ying's facial features were excellent, even more outstanding than Adam's. Therefore, Lin Xian, who was full of arrogance just now, was a bit infatuated. Chapter 832. Also, the way he jumped down was so cool. It was a pity that this man had such a deep scar on his neck. Otherwise, she would have pursued him no matter what. While Lin Xian was thinking about this, she did not think about whether her looks were good enough for Shuang. What, cousin, you guys are? Lin Jiahao finally saw the barbecue tools that Qin Yiru had placed on the ground. It was not that he had just seen it. It was just that Lin Jiahao had spoken to Qin Yiru with an ulterior motive just now. Now that Yin Jian did not agree to it when he brought up his purpose, that was why he asked in such a tone. Cousin, are you guys going for a picnic? Lin Jiahao asked. Yes, isn't spring coming? Everything is coming back to life, so we wanted to take the children out for a walk. We didn't have time before, but now that we have time, we decided to go for a spring outing as a family, Qin Yiru said happily. Yeah, isn't this a coincidence? Actually, our family was planning to go out today, but you guys want to go too. Why don't we go together? Since the weather is good today, let's go together. Won't one more person be one more companion? Lin Jiahao said in an uninvited tone as usual. This, Qin Yiru naturally did not want to. She originally wanted to take her family out for a walk, and there were not many barbecue ingredients for today's barbecue. If she added Lin Jiahao and the other two, she would probably only get a small amount of barbecue. Cousin, you're so understanding, so you'll definitely agree. Then it's settled. Let's go. Lin Jiahao said as he stood up and stretched. That's great. I haven't had barbecue in a long time. It's great. Lin Xian also stood up. Her fat body looked disgusting. I haven't had barbecue in a long time, too. I'm craving it. Shinta Lian also stood up and said. She looked like she would not leave until she had barbecue. I'll go buy some more barbecue ingredients. Gu Junjian saw that Qin Yiru was in a dilemma, so he stood up and walked out. Gu Junjian did not want Qin Yiru to be in such a difficult position. As long as Qin Yiru was happy, even if he had to spend some money on Qin Yiru's relatives, it would be good enough. Cousin-in-law, you don't have to buy too many barbecue ingredients. 100 lamb skewers are enough. Oh, Xin Xian likes to eat sausages, that's all. Lin Jiahao made the decision. Gu Junjian wasn't an obedient person, so he ignored Lin Jiahao's words. Villagers liked gossiping, especially people like Lin Jiahao. If Qin Yiru had rejected Lin Jiahao right to his face today, he would probably run back to the village and gossip about it. By then, Qin Yiru's reputation would be ruined. Yin Jian was not happy with Lin Jiahao's family, but since Qin Yiru did not object, she did not care. It would be fine as long as she ate her own food. If Lin Jiahao's family wanted to take advantage of the situation or go overboard, she did not mind teaching them a lesson. Let's go, yay! Xiao Yunzhu and the other two had been waiting for a long time. When they heard that they were leaving, the three of them immediately jumped up and down happily. Let's go, let's go. Shuang and Emo's son quickly came down when they heard the sound. Yi, on the other hand, walked behind them. Chapter 833. If Lin Xian thought that Shui Ying's looks were outstanding when she first saw him, his features were well-defined and lively, then the current C.E. did not seem real at all. He was handsome, but that was all there was to it. In comparison, C.E., who was walking behind Shui Ying and Emo's son, gave off an unmistakable sense of handsomeness. Lin Xian's mouth was agape just by looking at him. She was almost drooling. Oh my, this. Yiru, why are there so many people in your family? Who are the three of them? Even the middle-aged Shinta Lian could not help but stare. The three of them. The one behind is my friend's nephew. We're family. Qin Yiru smiled, but did not answer in detail. Of course, she would not reveal that C.E. was her chosen son-in-law. After all, they were not that close to Lin Jiahao's family. After the previous incident, Qin Yiru was actually more cautious about everything now. She was no longer as courteous to some people as before. After all, people change. I mean your friend's nephew. What's his name? Lin Xian's eyes widened the moment she saw C.E. She could not help but walk up to Qin Yiru to ask. Even her tone had changed. Lin Xian was as rude to Qin Yiru as she pretended to be gracious now. His name is C.E. Although Qin Yiru was a little unhappy with Lin Xian's question, she still replied symbolically. C.E. Lin Xian muttered in her heart. Her plump cheeks could not help but make people feel disgusted. Xiao Yunju did not stick to Si Yi as much now that he had Duan Li and Duan Ye. However, Xiao Yunju still glared at Lin Xian when he saw Si Yi coming down the stairs. He then ran over to pull Yunjian to Si Yi and called out to Si Yi, "Brother Si Yi." Si Yi reached out and rubbed Xiao Yunju's head out habit. "Let's go." Si Yi's slightly hoarse voice could be heard. With that, Si Yi held Yunjian's hand. He held Yunjian's hand. Lin Xian felt like her heart was about to break. It was rare for her to meet a man who suited her so well. Was he Yunjian's? Why? Why? Was it just because Yunjian was beautiful? Although she, Lin Xian, was ugly, her heart was extremely good. Why couldn't anyone see the beauty in her heart? Just as Lin Xian thought of this, Yunjian and Si had already led Xiao Yunju and the other two out. Imo Sun and Shuang also laughed and followed. "You guys wait." Lin Xian wanted to interrupt, but just as she spoke, Yunjian and Si had already walked out. When Shintu Lian saw this, her face darkened again. Her expression and mood were all displayed on her face. Let Xian Xian play with them. The children's ages are close, so they get along. Xian Xian, hurry up and follow them. Shintu Lian pushed Lin Xian and gestured for her to follow Yunjian and Si Yi. When Lin Xian heard her mother say this, she hurriedly ran out to find Si Yi. Qin Yiru couldn't even get a word in edgewise. Two sports cars were parked in front of the villa's main entrance. One was a Lamborghini, which belonged to Si Yi. The other was a Bugatti Veyron. This Bugatti Veyron was a new super sports car that Adam had just bought. It was the latest model, and only 10 were sold in the world. Chapter 834. We want to sit with Big Brother Imo Sun and Big Brother Wang Air. Xiao Yunju and the other two discussed for a while before running towards Adam's Bugatti Veyron. Hearing Xiao Yunju call him Big Brother Wang Air, Shueting couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth. This nickname was randomly given to him by Adam, but Xiao Yunju and the other two really took it seriously and kept calling him that. Damn it, if he didn't wreck Adam's Bugatti Veyron today, Shueing really wouldn't stop. Little Zhu, Big Brother's car can only seat 2 people, so you can only sit with your big brother Si Yi and big sister. Shuang looked at Xiao Yunju and said, "Oh, okay." Xiao Yunju and the other two were very sensible and well-behaved. This was because Adam's Bugatti Veyron didn't have a back seat, but Si Yi's Lamborghini did. Xiao Yunju and the other two very obediently walked towards Yunjian and Si Yi. However, Xiao Yunju wasn't very willing to sit with Yunjian and Si Yi. This was because Duan Li said that their behavior, in the words of their classmate Little Hui, was like a third wheel. A child who was a third wheel wouldn't be able to grow tall. Xiao Yunju and the other two were still walking towards Yunjian and Si Yi, because Adam's Bugatti Veyron and Si Yi's Lamborghini were parked a little far from each other. Xiao Yunju and the other two were still a little far away from each other. "Wait for me. My mom said to let us go together. Don't leave by yourself. Wait for me." At this moment, Lin Xian ran out from the house. Lin Xian's fat body trembled. Because of her short stature and fat body, Lin Xian looked like a lump of fat hanging on her body, and the trembling fat looked like it would fall off at any time. Because Lin Xian rushed out of the house, Xiao Yunju, Duan Li, and Duan Yu just happened to walk towards Yunjian and Si Yi from the side. Lin Xian, who rushed out of the house, bumped into Xiao Yunju and the other two. Actually, if Lin Xian stopped at this moment and let Xiao Yunju and the other two go first, they wouldn't have bumped into each other. However, seeing Yunjian and Si Yi walking over, Lin Xian became anxious. She saw Xiao Yunju and the other 3 walk over. She acted as if she didn't see them. She didn't know where her sister Zhu's, she's is, to her, to you, to her, too. S2's Xiao Yunju looked thin and weak, and there wasn't much meat on his body. On the other hand, Lin Xian was a big fatty through and through. After being hit by Lin Xian, Xiao Yunju lost his balance and fell to the ground. Fortunately, Xiao Yunju's hands were fast. He reacted quickly and stretched out his hand to support himself on the ground, so his little face didn't hit the ground and bleed. However, Xiao Yunju's hand rubbed against the cement on the ground. The moment Xiao Yunju fell, he even screamed in pain. Therefore, one could imagine how painful it was without seeing it. Yun Jian was standing at least 10 meters away, and Lin Xian's collision was sudden. Who would have thought that she would really bump into a child? Therefore, when Yun Jian saw it, Xiao Yunju had already been hit by Lin Xian. Yunju, are you okay? Duanli was so scared that she quickly helped Xiao Yunju up with Duanya. I'm fine. I'm a man. It's okay. Xiao Yunju frowned from the pain, but he still forced himself to speak. However, when Xiao Yunju turned his palm over, Yun Jian and Ce, who were walking over, saw that his palm was bleeding from the friction on the ground. The pebbles on the ground were stuck to Xiao Yunju's broken hand, and blood immediately gushed out. Chapter 835. Feeling Yun Jian's gaze, Lin Xian shuddered violently, and her entire body trembled. Ah, Yunju, you're injured, you're bleeding, Duanli shouted. Then, she fearfully took out a tissue from her trouser pocket and gently wiped Xiao Yunju's hand. Duanli called Xiao Yunju from the beginning. For Duanli, the most intimate way to address Xiao Yunju was to call him by his name. Feeling Duanli using the tissue to wipe his bleeding hand, Xiao Yunju couldn't help but gasp. Pain, that was inevitable, because just now, in order to prevent his entire body from falling to the ground, Xiao Yunju had stretched out a hand and fiercely received all the pressure of gravity. In other words, when he fell, the gravity of his entire body was supported by his hand. Xiao Yunju didn't let his head fall to the ground, which was already very good. Feeling Yun Jian's murderous gaze, Lin Xian shrunk her neck, but still pretended to be righteous, and said to Yun Jian, Is there a need to do this? It's not like you're going to die. Who hasn't experienced bumps and bruises before? Lin Xian's words made Yun Jian's gaze sharpen. However, Yun Jian didn't have the time to take revenge on Lin Xian for Xiao Yunju. Emo's son, who ran over from afar, saw this and said to Yun Jian habitually, I'll go get the first aid kit. With that, Emo's son walked home. At this moment, Yun Jian had already silently squatted down to check on Xiao Yunju's injury. The silence was the precursor to Yun Jian's anger. The quieter it was, the greater Yun Jian's latent anger. Ce also squatted down beside Yun Jian. Lin Xian watched from the side, and her envy grew stronger. Xiao Zhu, other than your hand, does it hurt anywhere else? Yun Jian reached out and pulled Xiao Yunju's hand to take a look and asked, It doesn't hurt anywhere else, Xiao Yunju said as he stood up with his uninjured hand held by Ce. Ce patted the dust off Xiao Yunju's butt. At this time, Emo's son quickly took out the medical kit from the house and ran over. Qin Yuru, who was in the room, saw Emo's son going back to the room to get the first aid kit. She was shocked and hurried out to see what had happened. As soon as Qin Yuru came out, Lin Jiahao and Shindalian followed. At this time, Yun Jian had already applied medicine for Xiao Yunju. Yun Jian cleaned the abrasions on Xiao Yunju's palms and applied a band-aid. She bandaged the wounds to prevent them from being infected by bacteria. Sister, I'm fine. It doesn't hurt anymore. Xiao Yunju was afraid that she would worry, so he waved his hand as if to prove that he really didn't hurt anymore. Okay. Yun Jian nodded and then put everything back into the first aid kit. Emo's son ran errands and helped Yun Jian put the first aid kit back. At this time, Yun Jian had already stood up and looked at Lin Xian from the corner of her eyes. Lin Xian was shocked by Yun Jian's gaze again. Then Lin Xian shouted at Yun Jian righteously, What are you doing? I didn't do it on purpose. Lin Xian clearly did it on purpose. She saw Yun Jian and Ce standing next to the car and was about to get in. In a moment of panic, she wanted to chase after them. In the end, she didn't expect Xiao Yunju to also come over. At that time, she didn't even think and directly bumped into Xiao Yunju. You didn't do it on purpose? Yun Jian raised her eyebrows. At this time, Qin Yuru, Lin Jiahao, and Shintalian had already walked out of the house. Yun Jian went forward and in front of everyone, She gave Lin Xian a hard slap. This slap sent Lin Xian sprawling on the ground. Chapter 836. Yin Jian sneered after she slapped Lin Xian. She returned what Lin Xian did to Yunju exactly as she did to Lin Xian. Yin Jian's slap was swift, accurate, and vicious. Qin Yiru and the others who came out of the house saw it as well. In fact, Yin Jian did it for Lin Jiahao and Shintalian to see. Xian Xian? Xian Xian. As expected, Lin Jiahao and Shintalian saw it and ran over screaming. Lin Jiahao's expression was normal, but Shintalian looked as if Lin Xian was almost beaten to death by Yun Jian. She was no different from a guardian. I don't know what my Xian Xian did to you. What are you doing? Lin Jiahao's attitude towards Yun Jian was always polite. However, Yun Jian was the director of new crews. Because of that, Lin Jiahao had to be polite to Yun Jian if he wanted to use Yun Jian. Shintalian did not care about that. She had been protecting Lin Xian since she was young. When she saw Lin Xian fall to the ground after being slapped by Yun Jian, she could not hold it in anymore. My Xian Xian is so obedient. Why did you hit her? Xian Xian is such a smart child. What if you hit her and she becomes stupid? She's going to be a top student in the university in the future. Shintalian shouted at Yun Jian. Lin Jiahao and Shintalian were helping Lin Xian. Lin Xian, who was sitting on the ground and pretending to be pitiful, could not help but give Yun Jian a provocative look. At that moment, Qin Yiru walked over with a frown. Xiao Yunju was smart. When he saw Qin Yiru walking over, Xiao Yunju extended his hand, which had a band-aid on it. Mother Qin, she pushed me just now and I fell. My hand is covered in blood. She didn't apologize, so they scolded Sister. Sister was helping me. Xiao Yunju said as he pointed at Lin Xian. Then, in order to prove the injury on his hand, he even took off the band-aid. As soon as the band-aid was removed, the wound on Xiao Yunju's hand was immediately revealed. Xiao Yunju was still a kid. Even though he wasn't injured, the wound on Xiao Yunju's hand was enough to make everyone gasp. Isn't it just a small injury? Was there need to make a fuss? Isn't it normal for children to get injured? We played in the fields every day when we were young. How could we not get injured? Shintalian said confidently. That level of confidence was comparable to Lin Xian's. Lin Jiahao, on the other hand, had more foresight than Shintalian and Lin Xian. He glared fiercely at Shintalian, then said to Yun Jian, "It's all my daughter and wife's fault. Xian Xian is still young and doesn't know any better. Please forgive her." As he spoke, Lin Jiahao chuckled and said, "We're family, so there's no need to be so polite. Besides, Xian Xian will be following you to work in your company in the future." Yun Jian didn't agree to work in new crews with Lin Xian. In fact, Yun Jian had rejected her outright at that time. However, Lin Jiahao didn't take Yun Jian's rejection seriously at all. Or rather, he ignored Yun Jian's words at that time. Yun Jian chuckled softly. She had never seen such shameless people like Lin Jiahao and his family. Therefore, Yun Jian didn't hold back. "I think I wasn't clear enough. Let me make it clear here. New crews can't afford to hire someone like your daughter. It's impossible in this lifetime, so you can go back." Chapter 837. Yun Jian should have been angry long ago. Once she was angry, she would not be wasting her breath on Lin Jiahao and the rest. Instead, it would be a matter of life and death. However, Yun Jian did not do it out of respect for Qin Yiru. After all, Lin Jiahao was Qin Yiru's relative from her maternal side. Qin Yiru had been tolerating Qin Yiru earlier, which meant that Qin Yiru definitely cared about it. Of course, Lin Jiahao and his family had already crossed her bottom line. Lin Xian had even hurt Xiao Yunju. Yun Jian had also given Lin Xian a slap. However, this matter could not be called even. Yun Jian's character had always been that if someone offended her, she would return it 1,000 times over. This was Yun Jian's last line. If Lin Jiahao were to leave now, she would reluctantly give Qin Yiru some face, and this matter would be over. However, leave? Didn't we agree to go for a picnic together? Why did you change your mind at the last minute? Lin Jiahao refused to leave since he did not get anything out of it. Moreover, Yin Jian had just said that she would not allow his Xian to enter new crews. Did that mean that he had given Qin Yiru his red packet today for nothing? Inside that red packet was the $50 that he had painstakingly earned. Lin Jiahao's red packet was not considered a lot in 1999 in Country Z. Lin Jiahao did not have the heart to give Qin Yiru more red packets. Of course, for someone like Lin Jiahao, if he gave out this red packet without any return, he would definitely feel indignant. Moreover, Lin Jiahao's original intention was for Lin Xian and Yun Jian to enter new crews and earn big bucks. Upon hearing Lin Jiahao's, we agreed to go for a picnic together. Yun Jian laughed out loud on the spot. Did we agree to go for a picnic together? You're not welcome in our house since you're uninvited. At this point, Yun Jian didn't want to argue with Lin Jiahao anymore. What's more, Lin Xian had injured Xiao Yunju. At this thought, Yun Jian's eyes sharpened. She turned sideways to look at Lin Jiahao and his family. Her cold eyes were hard to ignore. She said coldly to Lin Jiahao and the other two, "I'll give you a choice. Get out of my sight immediately." Look, our families are relatives. Relatives should help each other regardless of status. But what about your daughter? How could your daughter speak like that? You're actually telling us to get lost? Shintu Lian panicked when she heard that. She still wanted Yun Jian to help her Xian get rich. And the result? Yun Jian actually wanted them to scram. Moreover, their family had given Qin Yiru 50 yuan as a gift. If Yun Jian really didn't help them, would that not be a waste of money? Lin Jiahao and Shintu Lian's first thought was to let Qin Yiru speak for them, since they could not win an argument with Yun Jian. To put it bluntly, it was quite embarrassing for Qin Yiru to speak now. After all, if Qin Yiru helped Yun Jian, she would appear petty. However, if Qin Yiru helped Lin Jiahao and Shintu Lian, would she not be helping others instead of her own daughter, who was in the right? Lin Jiahao and Shintu Lian's actions were to force Qin Yiru into a corner. Naturally, Yun Jian would not force Qin Yiru into a corner. You're not scramming, are you? Yun Jian smirked maliciously. Qin Yiru's heart skipped a beat as well. However, Qin Yiru did not plan to interfere in this matter. She had been bullied by her relatives for half her life. If she did not allow her daughter to fight back, what kind of behavior would that be? Then, all of you can go to hell. After Yun Jian finished speaking, she strode forward and stood where Lin Xian was. Then, she extended her leg and kicked Lin Xian's knee hard. Lin Xian suddenly felt a piercing pain. Her knee went limp from Yun Jian's kick, and she collapsed like a huge mountain. Chapter 838. Lin Xian's knee was kicked by Yun Jian. Her knees went soft, and she knelt down. Since they were kneeling on a cement road, Lin Xian wasn't wearing much. Therefore, when Lin Xian knelt down, a hole was torn in her pants. Xian, my baby. Shintu Lian shouted and quickly ran over to help Lin Xian up. Mom, my knee hurts, it hurts. Lin Xian said pitifully, but in the end, she was still pulled up by Shintu Lian. Everyone looked over and saw that there was a hole in Lin Xian's pants. Because Lin Xian's pants were not very sturdy, the hole was torn. There were many pebbles on the cement road, and the pebbles rubbed against Lin Xian's knees. Just like the injury on Xiao Yunju's palm, blood gushed out of Lin Xian's knees. Blood, Mom, blood. Lin Xian saw the blood flowing out of her knees, and she shouted loudly in pain. When Shintu Lian heard that, she squatted in front of Lin Xian and shouted with concern, "My baby, my sweetheart. Mom, huff, and it won't hurt anymore, huff." As she spoke, Shintu Lian blew a few times exaggeratedly. It's all her fault. It's all because of her that I got hurt. As Lin Xian spoke, she immediately pointed at Yun Jian. Shintu Lian also turned around hatefully. She was about to speak up for her daughter when Yun Jian's voice rang out calmly. You're children who grew up in the fields. Which day did you not get hurt? Yun Jian's voice was laced with mockery. As she spoke, Yun Jian added, So what's so scary about such a small injury to you? The person who said that she grew up in the fields was Shintu Lian. Yun Jian returned the words back to Shinta Lian in its original form. This made Shinta Lian, who was about to speak, immediately shut her mouth. Wasn't this slapping her own face? However, for someone as thick-skinned as Shinta Lian, how could she shut up just because of Yun Jian's words? How is this the same? Was this a minor injury? Xian had such a serious fall. There's already so much blood. Shinta Lian argued. Really? Yun Jian smiled wickedly. Then, in front of Shinta Lian and the others, she reached into her clothes and took out the butterfly knife. Then I'll do a good deed and let all of you bleed dry, Yun Jian said as she swung her butterfly knife. Yun Jian held the butterfly knife in her hand and played with it skillfully. Seeing this, Shinta Lian, Lin Jiahao, and Lin Xian all swallowed hard. Even if you're the director of new crews, you can't kill us, because killing is against the law. Shinta Lian felt that Yun Jian's gaze and actions didn't seem to be joking, so she reminded her. This Yun Jian was too scary. Shinta Lian and the other two would rather leave than stay here any longer. Do you want to try? Yun Jian swung her butterfly knife and suddenly walked towards Shinta Lian. She forced Shinta Lian to take 2 steps back. However, her inexplicable pride made Shinta Lian muster the courage to reply, Do you dare? Do you still think you have someone protecting you? I'm protecting her. What can you do? When Shinta Lian said this, Si Yi's mellow male voice suddenly rang out. His voice had a hint of magnetism that could mesmerize people without them noticing. Chapter 839. Si Yi's words were so cold that they could make the surrounding temperature drop by a few degrees. Mo, son, kill these 3 noisy people. Si Yi did not bother to reason at all. Once he made his move, it was a straightforward kill word. The word kill made Shinta Lian and the other 2 shudder. He was not joking. He was serious. Lin Jiahao, Shinta Lian, and Lin Xian were so frightened that their faces turned pale. We can leave for the picnic immediately after killing these 3 people? All right, let me do such a simple thing. Shuang volunteered himself rather casually. He had only taken 2 steps when Xue Ying turned to look at Xiao Yunzhu and the other 2. You 3 turn around. Be good, and I'll buy you lollipops later. Xiao Yunzhu and the other 2 turned their backs at Xue Ying's words. Xiao Qixi, let's turn around quickly. That way, Brother Wang Er will buy us lollipops. Xiao Yunzhu pulled Duan Li while Duan Li pulled Duanya. The 3 of them turned around happily. Everything was so natural. It was as if killing a person was not a big deal at all. It was not just Shinta Lian and Lin Xian. Under such an atmosphere, even Lin Jiahao was scared. Don't, we were wrong, Lin Jiahao said fearfully. As he spoke, Lin Jiahao turned around and slapped Shinta Lian hard before begging Yun Jian for mercy. It's all this *TCH's fault. I'll teach her a lesson when we get back. As he spoke, Lin Jiahao turned to Qin Yiru. Yiru, you can't joke about this. Cousin is old now. He'll be frightened. As Lin Jiahao spoke, he pulled his wife and daughter to their feet and said to Qin Yiru, Cousin, I'm not feeling well today, so I'll be leaving first. I'll visit again another day. As he spoke, Lin Jiahao hurriedly pulled Shinta Lian and the limping Lin Xian away from the place. Stop. Did I say you can leave? Yun Jian's voice rang out at this moment, her tone carrying a hint of shock that could not be ignored. Lin Jiahao and the other 2, who were about to leave, stopped in their tracks. Lin Jiahao heard Yun Jian's voice and was about to turn around and say something. Whoosh! A tiny blade flew past Lin Jiahao's cheek, brushing past his skin. Even though Lin Jiahao was a big man, he was still frightened by the sudden appearance of the blade. When Yun Jian's blade flew past Lin Jiahao's cheek, Shinta Lian and Lin Xian happened to turn their heads and see it. As a result, the 2 of them were so scared that their hair stood on end and they couldn't speak for a long time. However, he heard Yun Jian's voice clearly again. Don't let me see you again. Relatives like you should never appear in front of my family. If I see you again, I will cut off your heads and dig out your hearts to feed the dogs. It had to be said that Lin Jiahao's family was the best of the best. In reality, there was no shortage of such people. If it were anyone else who met such relatives, even if they were in the right, they could only keep it to themselves and think that it was okay for them to be at a disadvantage. Just like Qin Yiru. However, who was Yun Jian? She would never allow anyone to cross her bottom line. Chapter 840. How could Lin Jiahao and his family not panic after being hit by Yun Jian's flying knife so accurately? How could they not be afraid? Lin Jiahao and his family were so scared that their faces turned pale. They even forgot their original intention and left as if they were running away. Seeing Lin Jiahao and his family leave, even Qin Yiru couldn't help but feel relieved and let out a sigh of relief. "Little Zhu, are you all right?" Qin Yiru looked at Xiao Yunzhu and asked. "Mama Qin, I'm fine. It doesn't hurt." Xiao Yunzhu turned around and smiled at Qin Yiru. What an obedient child, Qin Yiru thought to herself. Then, Xiao Yunzhu and the other two pestered Shui for lollipops. Shui didn't have any objections when they pestered him for lollipops. But why did they keep calling him Big Brother Wang Er? Those who didn't know better would think that he was a bastard. Was he really such a bastard? He was the leader of an Hun after all. If word of this got out. TSK. Mom, if Lin Jiahao and his family dare to come here again, don't go easy on them. Yun Jian walked up to Qin Yiru and said. To be honest, Qin Yiru really thought that Lin Jiahao's distant relatives had changed for the better. They even gave her money. To be honest, it didn't matter if Lin Jiahao gave her money or not. Qin Yiru wasn't a greedy person at all. Qin Yiru thought that her distant relatives had changed for the better. That was why she was happy. But this happiness would eventually turn into a bubble. She should be as disappointed as she was looking forward to it at the beginning. At this moment, a military jeep drove into the area. Good Junjian got out of the car the moment he got out. I just went to the market to buy some barbecue ingredients. I put them in the car. We'll be driving there later anyway. Good Junjian said as he looked around. Where are they? Good Junjian asked suspiciously. They're gone, Qin Yiru said. Then she explained everything that happened. I see. Haha, it's good that they're gone. Then these barbecue ingredients are ours. Good Junjian shouted happily. Then, Good Junjian went into the house and moved all the barbecue equipment into the military jeep. The jeep led the way, followed by the Lamborghini, followed by the Bugatti Veyron. They drove. The barbecue location had been chosen. Despite the unpleasant episode with Lin Jiahao's family, the group was still happy along the way. Xiao Yunzhu and the other two followed Yun Jian and Ce into the same car. Good Junjian and Qin Yiru were the only ones left in the military jeep. However, Good Junjian was not a flirtatious person. Hence, the journey was smooth and there were no hiccups. The barbecue location was by the Nilong River in the countryside. Nilong River was a small stream located in Guo Village. There were still a few kilometers of mountain roads from Guo Village. Since it was spring, the season for spring outing, the stream of Nilong River was surrounded by trees and boulders. It was a sacred place for barbecue that everyone in Longmen City knew. Therefore, when Good Junjian parked the car there, he saw many people setting up all sorts of barbecue equipment along the bank of Nilong River. Chapter 841. There were already a lot of people barbecuing by the Nilong River. When they saw a military jeep stop by the roadside with two supercars behind it, they couldn't help but turn their heads to look. No matter what era people were in, they always had a certain amount of admiration for the rich. Moreover, cars in this era weren't as popular as they were in the modern era. Not to mention supercars, even ordinary cars were quite rare. Therefore, when the two supercars, Bugatti Veyron and Lamborghini, drove to the roadside, the people barbecuing by the Nilong River all looked over. Barbecue. We can eat barbecue. Xiao Yunzhu, Duan Li, and Duanya were helped out by Yun Jian from the back seat to the front seat. Xiao Yunzhu and the other two looked very excited. After Mo's son and Shui got out of the car, They walked toward the military jeep. The two of them consciously helped Gu Junjian and Qin Yiru carry the barbecue tools and ingredients. Xiao Yunju, Duan Li, and Duan Yu ran toward the Nilong River as soon as they got out of the car. The three of them were very lively and very happy. After Qin Yiru got out of the car, she saw Xiao Yunju and the other two running toward the Nilong River. She couldn't help but shout to Xiao Yunju and the other two, "Be careful. Don't play in the water that's too deep. Pay attention to your safety." "Mother Qin, we know." Xiao Yunju responded happily and then ran over with Duan Li and Duan Ya. Yunjian and Si Yi were already standing by the roadside at this time. Si Yi saw Qin Yiru moving the heavy barbecue oven and walked over. "Let me do it." As Si Yi spoke, he easily took the barbecue oven from Qin Yiru's hand. His tall figure followed Gu Junjian to the Nilong River. Qin Yiru looked quite heavy when she moved the barbecue oven, but Si Yi took it from her and moved it quite easily. However, Si Yi's actions caused Mo's son and Xue Ying to be slightly stunned. Since when did the leader of the Han organization, the young master of Pavilion Long, learn how to move things? "Hey, take care," Qin Yiru replied when she saw Si Yi taking her things and moving them over. Qin Yiru found Si Yi more and more pleasing to the eye. The more she looked at Si Yi, the more she liked her. She now felt that the best thing she had ever done was to entrust Yunjian to Si Yi. She used to think that Si Yi was born into a wealthy family and was born with an air of arrogance. But now, Qin Yiru could not wait to marry her Xiao Jian off right now. Yunjian also helped to get some barbecue ingredients. They busied themselves for a while before setting up a barbecue site by the Nilong River. Next was the barbecue. The group was already seated on the pebble beach. At this time, the stool brought from home came in handy. Gu Junjian took the lead and laid out all the ingredients for the barbecue. Yunjian sat on the stools while Qin Yiru processed the ingredients when a sweet female voice rang. "Hello, may I ask?" Hearing this sweet female voice, everyone present turned their eyes to look at her. See, he was the only one who did not even look up. His attention was on Yunjian the entire time. Yunjian looked over as well. "May I ask if you brought any salt? My classmates and I came to Nilong River for a barbecue, but we realized that we didn't bring any when we got here. If you have extra, can you lend us some?" Chapter 842. The girl was wearing an emerald green floral dress. Her appearance was quite bright and beautiful, and she had the kind of appearance that would make people fall in love with her. Moreover, this girl looked clean and pretty. Her appearance was quite pleasing to the eye. "Of course, I happened to bring a whole bag of salt today. Young lady, if you are in a hurry, you can use it first." Qin Yiru nodded and smiled at the girl, then took out a whole bag of salt and handed it to the girl. "Thank you. Thank you so much." The girl in the emerald green floral dress bowed twice to Qin Yiru to express her gratitude. Then she turned around and walked back to where her friends were. Qin Yiru smiled. Yunjian was sitting next to him. The help on this kind of journey might only be a little bit of salt to him, but it might be a great help to the girl just now. "Lon Lon, did you borrow the salt?" When the girl in the emerald green floral dress walked back to the group of boys and girls, a girl raised her head and asked the girl in the floral dress. Yes, yes. The girl in the emerald green floral dress, called Lon Lon, nodded. At this moment, Qin Yiru and Gu Junjian had already skillfully laid out the barbecue ingredients. Gu Junjian also started a charcoal fire. "We can start barbecuing now. Put whatever you want to eat in here," Gu Junjian said with a smile. Gu Junjian had not been as happy as he was today for a long time. He also had not experienced such a warm feeling for a long time. For Gu Junjian, after he divorced his ex-wife only left him a son. His son did not get along well with him, so he went abroad to study. Gu Junjian was very successful in everything he did in his life, but there was one thing that he failed at, and that was dealing with family relationships. Although Yunjian and the others were not his biological children, after spending so much time together, even if his heart was frozen, he still had some feelings for them. Let alone Gu Junjian. "I want to eat mutton skewers," Xiao Yunju said happily. "I'm the same as Yunju." Duanli blinked her small eyes and smiled easily. I want to eat rice cakes. Duanya rubbed her hands together tightly as she raised her little eyes and said. At first, Duanya did not speak. However, under Chinyiru's care, she could already speak a few words. However, she spoke softly and softly, as if she was afraid that her words would be refuted. It seemed like Duanshur had given Duanya a huge blow back then. But now, Duanshur was sentenced to 2 years in prison. Good. I'll roast it for you kids first. Good Junjian laughed twice. Then, he picked up the ingredients, smeared them with oil, and placed them on the oven. Yunjian narrowed her eyes. The scorching sun shone down at an angle. Because there were no trees here, the sunlight shone directly on her face and body. I'm here to return your salt. It was also at this moment that the girl called Lan Lan, who was wearing a green floral dress, came back. She was holding a bag of salt that was not used much. As Chinyiru was still busy, the girl saw Yun Jian sitting on the bench, so she walked over and said to Yun Jian, Yun Jian nodded and took the salt from the girl. Thank you so much. Fortunately, you were willing to lend us your salt. Otherwise, we wouldn't know what to do. After saying that, the girl did not leave. Instead, she thanked Yun Jian. Chapter 843. Just as the girl spoke to Yun Jian, her friend were already calling for her. Lan Lan, come quick. The barbecue is ready. The girl's friend were calling her. Hearing her friend calling her, the girl took 2 steps back, but could not help turning back to look at Yun Jian with a smile before she said, I'm sorry, Yun Jian, but I'm sorry. I won't thank you. I'm Ning Lan Lan. The girl who called herself Ning Lan Lan winked at Yun Jian as she spoke. In fact, the salt was lent to Ning Lan Lan by Chinyiru. It was apparent from their appearances that Yun Jian and Chinyiru looked alike. It was obvious that they were mother and daughter. Therefore, Ning Lan Lan thought it did not matter whether she returned the salt to Yun Jian or to Chinyiru. They had only met on a short journey, so Yun Jian did not mind it, but she still smiled faintly at Ning Lan Lan. Many people would remember the help they received on a journey like this for life. Of course, they would help if they could. After all, they might run into difficulties or need help when they went out to play. Xiaozhu, Chestnut, Yaya, it's time to eat. Good Jun Jian cooked a few skewers skillfully and passed them to Xiao Yunzhu and his friends. Wow, it smells so good, Xiao Yunzhu exclaimed and took his 3 mutton skewers. Usually, only a few skewers could be cooked at a time during barbecue unless the oven they brought was big enough. Usually, however, the skewers were slowly grilled in rounds. Usually, only a few skewers could be grilled in one round, so they were given to the children to enjoy first. The adults were gluttonous, but they would hold it in for the time being. All right, I'll grill Xiao Jian and A next. As Good Junjian spoke, he smeared some of the prepared barbecue ingredients with oil and placed them in the oven. Xiao Yunzhu grabbed 3 skewers of mutton. He looked at C.E., Yunjian, Imo Sun, and Shuang. Brother Imo, Sun, Brother Wang Er, this mutton skewer is for the 2 of you. Xiao Yunzhu grabbed the mutton skewer and handed it to Shuang. A mutton skewer for 2 people? Then wouldn't that mean that his saliva would be stained? But if he tried to pull it off, his hands would be greasy. Haha, thank you, Xiaozhu. Shuang took the mutton skewer from Xiao Yunzhu and said with a smile. After Xiao Yunzhu walked away, he went up to Imo Sun and said with an evil smile, Little Imo Sun, we have to share this mutton skewer. Do you want to bite first, or should I? As he spoke, Shuang revealed a mischievous smile as he leaned closer to Imo Sr. You eat. Imo Sun was a serious person, so he pushed the mutton skewer back to Shuang as soon as Shuang finished his joke. Imo Sun even moved to the side to distance himself from Shuang. Shuang guffawed and swallowed the mutton skewer in a few bites. By then, Xiao Yunzhu had already come to Yun Jian and C.E. with another mutton skewer. He picked the bigger one out of the 2 remaining mutton skewers in his hand and passed it to Yun Jian and C.E. Gij, C.E. Gij, this is for you guys, Xiao Yunzhu said and passed the mutton skewer to Yunjian. Si watched as Yunjian took the mutton skewer from Xiao Yunju with a faint smirk on his lips. In that smirk, there seemed to be a hint of an unknown conspiracy. Xiao Yunju gave the mutton skewer to Yunjian and only had one left for himself. Chapter 844. Yunjian took the mutton skewer from Xiao Yunju in a daze. After Xiao Yunju ran off to look for Duan Li and Duanya, Yunjian finally reacted. She held the mutton skewer in her hand and turned to hand it to Ce. "You can have it." As she spoke, Yunjian handed the mutton skewer to Ce. "I'm not hungry." "You can have it," Ce smiled and replied softly. When Yunjian heard him say that he wasn't hungry, she didn't force it. She held the mutton skewer in front of her and chewed it before swallowing it. When she was halfway through the mutton skewer, Yunjian felt a large hand holding her small one. She was slightly stunned. Then this large hand led her small one to move the remaining half of the mutton skewer in front of him. Ce took a bite, but wasn't in a hurry to eat it. His handsome and flawless face was very close to hers. The corners of Yunjian's mouth twitched. She was suddenly slightly stunned. Looking at Ce's slightly curved lips and handsome face that couldn't be ignored, Yunjian's expression changed. "Didn't you say that you didn't want it?" Feeling Ce's large hand, Yunjian's face flushed red. As she spoke, she moved the mutton skewer back from Ce's lips. Then she wasn't afraid that Ce had already eaten the mutton skewer. She quickly finished the mutton skewer. After finishing the mutton skewer, she pursed her lips and smiled triumphantly at Ce. In the past, Yunjian wouldn't have done such a thing. She had never let down her guard around anyone before. But this time, she didn't know what was wrong with her. She actually made such a childish gesture of victory in front of Ce. Just as Yunjian thought of this, her face turned pink. "I'm going to help my mother." Yunjian looked at Qin Yiru and saw that Qin Yiru was cutting meat and skewering it with bamboo skewers. In order to ease the awkwardness, Yunjian stood up and walked towards Qin Yiru. As soon as Yunjian stood up, Ce could feel her faint fragrance leaving him. Yunjian's body had a light and pleasant scent. If one didn't smell it carefully, one wouldn't be able to smell it. Ce was already familiar with this smell, so when Yunjian stood up and walked towards Qin Yiru, he reached out and grabbed Yunjian's wrist. Yunjian was just about to walk towards Qin Yiru when Ce grabbed her right wrist. Yunjian was slightly stunned. She could see that not far away, Qin Yiru and Junjian were talking and laughing with their backs facing her. One was cutting and skewering meat, while the other was barbecuing meat. However, just as Yunjian saw this, Ce grabbed her right wrist and pulled her back. With this pull, Ce didn't pull her back to her original seat. Instead, he pulled Yunjian to sit on his lap. His lap. Ce sat cross-legged on the bench with his slender legs. After pulling Yunjian to sit on his lap, he reached out his well-defined hand and held onto Yunjian. At this moment, Yunjian and Ce were in a position where one was on top of the other. The only difference was that Ce was sitting on the bench, while Yunjian was sitting on Ce's lap. Yunjian's but was coincidentally pressed against one of his prideful areas. Even though Yunjian had never done anything between men and women, she could feel that Ce's part was boiling hot. Aroused. Chapter 845. This wasn't the first time she sat on his lap. The last time Ce pulled her to sit on his lap, it was at home. However, this time, they were in a crowded place. She wasn't a child anymore. Anyone who saw her would probably misunderstand. Moreover, it wasn't just the crowd at the Nilong River. The Nilong River had beautiful scenery and rare forest scenery. The beauty of nature was presented here. In addition, the water of the Nilong River wasn't muddy. Instead, it was so clear that one could see the bottom. The color of the water was the dark green of nature. Now, because of all kinds of pollution, natural scenery was rarely seen. The scenery here could be considered very extraordinary. Therefore, there were many elderly people from Guo village and nearby villages who came here for a stroll. The Nilong River was full of people who were focused on eating barbecue. Therefore, no one saw Yun Jian sitting on Si's lap. However, there were many people from other villages who came here for a stroll. Moreover, Yun Jian and Si were near the road. At this moment, two old grannies happened to pass by. The two old grannies walked quickly, as if they were regular visitors who came here for a stroll every day. However, when the two old grannies passed by, they happened to see Yun Jian sitting on Si's lap. One of the grannies, who looked tall and thin and sturdy, suddenly saw this scene and was so shocked that she froze. The other old granny was also slightly shocked when she saw her old friend suddenly stop in her tracks. However, the tall and thin old granny pointed in Yun Jian's direction and shouted, "Oh my God, oh my God." Young people these days really don't know shame. It's really immoral. In broad daylight, they the old granny's words were unbearable. The other old granny turned her head to look. Oh my God, they actually did such a thing in broad daylight. How dare they? How dare they? With that, the two old grannies quickly ran away. Yun Jian was sitting with her back to the road, so she couldn't see the two old grannies running by. Although the two old grannies spoke very softly, Yun Jian could clearly hear what they were saying. He was actually seen. Therefore, Yun Jian's face became even redder. "Hurry up and let me get up," Yun Jian whispered to Si behind her as she struggled to get up. "Xiao Jian, don't move," Si grumbled, pressing Yun Jian down to prevent her from standing up. When Yun Jian didn't move, he didn't feel stuffy. But when Yun Jian moved, he felt as if he had just taken a hot shower. That feeling was as if some kind of desire had been stimulated in an instant. If they were not in this place, Yun Jian would have moved a few more times. What about waiting for her to reach adulthood? That was all bullshit. He would definitely eat her up first. Even at this moment, when he thought of the men who had shown their love to Yun Jian, even though Yun Jian had not paid any attention to them. But as soon as he thought of this, he couldn't wait to take Yun Jian for himself. Si's low voice made Yun Jian's heart skip a beat. Yun Jian was really afraid that Si would do something in front of everyone, so she dared not move at all. It was just that a certain part of Si's body was hard against her, causing Yun Jian's cheeks to grow redder. Mo's son and Shui were very sensitive. They had seen Yun Jian and Si's position since the beginning, and both of them had their backs facing Yun Jian and Si, pretending that they knew nothing. "Xiao Jian, the skewers are ready. Come and eat." Qin Yiru's voice rang again. Chapter 846. Some of the people around them were looking at Yun Jian and Si purely out of curiosity, while others who had nothing better to do were staring at Yun Jian and Si suspiciously with barbecue skewers in their hands. By the time everyone looked over, Yun Jian had already gotten down from Si's lap and was now standing beside Si. Yun Jian's fair cheeks were pinkish, adding a youthful beauty to her delicate features. "Xiao Jian, come over and eat," Qin Yiru, who had turned around, called to Yun Jian and Si. Si then stood up, his tall figure reflecting a handsome aura that could not be ignored. Some of the people around them looked over, and many of them were mesmerized by Si's handsome face. Of course, most of them were just looking, not showing much admiration or possessiveness. No matter how handsome he was already taken. Si was already holding Yun Jian's hand as they came to the barbecue oven. Good Yun Jian had bought a little more barbecue ingredients today because he thought that Lin Jiahao's family would be coming as well, so he had gone to buy more. In spite of it, all the barbecue ingredients were swept clean by the group during the afternoon barbecue. Not a single bit was wasted. Good Yun Jian packed up his stall in the end and used the water from Nilong River to extinguish the charcoal fire. After ensuring that the charcoal would not cause a fire, he packed up and prepared to head back. There were many people barbecuing near Nilong River, especially since it was spring and the season for spring excursions. Everyone was thinking about how and where to go. Coming to Nilong River to barbecue was undoubtedly everyone's first choice. They didn't need an entrance ticket. Another thing was that they could bring their own ingredients to barbecue and satisfy their taste buds. This was also a very important point. See, he helped to put the items back into the Jeep as he did when he came. In the end, everyone drove home. Since it was the weekend, Yunjian had to go back to school at night. Of course, dinner was waived today as everyone was full from the barbecue they had in the afternoon. When they got home, Xiao Yunju, Ce, and Ce played together again. It was already 4:30 in the evening. Yunjian carried her bag and went to school. When Yunjian reached the door, Ce was leaning against it. When he saw Yunjian, he said, "Come back early. I'll wait for you tonight." There was a flirtatious meaning to his words, which reminded Yunjian of Ce pulling her to sit on his lap. Yunjian's face instantly turned red. She carried her bag on one shoulder and did not look at Ce. She wanted to walk past Ce. At this moment, Qin Yuru and Ge Junjian had already taken Xiao Yunju, Ce, and Ce away. As long as Xiao Yunju, Ce, and Ce were together, they could play wherever they wanted. Only Imo's son, Shui, Adam, and Lan Su were left at home. However, the four of them were upstairs. Yunjian ignored him and walked out. Ce furrowed his brows. His brows twitched slightly. Just as Yunjian was about to step out of the house, Ce grabbed Yunjian's arm and pulled her back. He pressed Yunjian against the door. Then, his warm breath gushed toward Yunjian in the next second. He had been holding it in for a long time. Yunjian had just blinked when she felt something cold on her lips. Ce had already leaned over. She tossed and turned. Chapter 847. Adam covered Snow Eagle's mouth with his hand and winked at him, hinting that he should be quiet. Honestly speaking, Shuang wasn't someone who would be frightened. However, the scene of Ce kissing Yunjian made Shuang feel surprised. When did the leader of an Hun group become so proactive? He even knew how to kiss a girl. Where did his aversion to women go? Did he feed it to the dogs? Adam was supported by Shuang to the staircase to watch the show. At this time, Lan Su had just returned to her room to take a shower. Lan Su was taking a shower in her room, while Imo's son had just returned to his room to study his new computer program. Shuang was the only one in Adam's room, just now. Shuang and Adam had similar personalities, but Adam was more irritable in comparison. Although Adam's leg was limping, he was still able to walk with Shuang's support. Not to mention, how could someone like Adam, who loved to watch shows, miss such a good show? At the same time, downstairs, the corners of Ce's brow arched, his ears twitching slightly. However, he didn't react. Instead, he pressed Yunjian against the door and kissed her even more intensely. Without a doubt, Ce had heard Shuang's wow, that he didn't manage to shout out. Yunjian also heard the sound. However, she was pressed against the door by Ce and forcefully kissed, so she didn't resist. After being kissed so passionately, Yunjian reached out and hugged Ce's head to stabilize herself. At this moment, the two bachelors who were secretly hiding at the stairs on the second floor were watching with their mouths wide open. As Adam and Shuang watched, they couldn't help but stare, not moving at all. "What are the two of you doing?" Suddenly, Imo-sen's voice came from behind. Adam and Shuang, who were hiding at the stairs on the second floor, leaned forward and steadied themselves. They almost accidentally rolled down the stairs. Shoo! Shoo! Adam made a silent gesture. He looked as if he was a thief. Imo-san walked over suspiciously. He didn't know if he didn't look, but when he did, he was shocked. Finally, Ce let go of Yunjian. He looked at Yunjian's red lips and couldn't help but feel refreshed. He had left his mark there. "I'll wait for you tonight." There was only Yunjian's reflection in Ce's deep eyes. Other than her, there was nothing else in his eyes. Yunjian replied. Then she said to Ce, "Let's go," and walked out of the door with a red face. It was only when Yunjian walked out of the house that Ce turned to look at the second floor. "The three of you come down." Ce's words made the hearts of the three men standing at the top of the stairs skip a beat. Then Adam was helped down the stairs. Imo-san and Shuang followed closely behind. Imo-san's condition was still okay. However, Adam and Shuang, who were hiding at the stairs on the second floor, felt as if there were 10,000 horses galloping in their hearts. Seeing C.E. call out to them in a low voice, Adam and Shui Ying's hearts jumped nervously. Young master? Adam stuttered as he opened his mouth. Is it very nice? C.E.'s question shocked everyone present. The gates of the Amazon forest are always open for the three of you. C.E. looked at the three people in front of him and smiled wickedly. Don't. Young master, I'm wrong, okay? I don't want to go to that damn place for the rest of my life. Adam immediately put on an expression of not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Chapter 848. Adam looked like he did not know whether to laugh or cry at once. Looking at Shui, who was beside him, he told Sin, Young master, I just want Shui to learn something. Look at him, he's been single for so long, and he still doesn't know anything. Are you sure you don't want to see? Shui was shocked by Adam's nonsense. Adam started to talk nonsense with Shui again. They were fooling around, but it was undeniable that Adam and Shui Ying's friendship was very strong. While Adam and Shui Ying were fooling around, Immerse's son also smiled and grinned. At this moment, he had already walked up to the second floor. Adam and Shui Ying, who were standing on the second floor, finally reacted. Adam was also slightly shocked. Young master isn't angry anymore. Maybe, Shui Ying replied. Immerse's son said, Young master left without saying anything. Under normal circumstances, it means that he wants to send us to the Amazon forest. Adam and Shui Ying were speechless. Immerse's son, do you have to be so honest? If it was a normal day, you would really send Adam and the other two to the Amazon forest. Actually, the original intention of sending them to the Amazon forest wasn't to punish them. C.E. wanted Adam, Shui Ying, and Immerse's son to improve their strength. Yunjian walked and quickly arrived at the school gate. It didn't take much time to walk from the school gate to the classroom. When she walked into the classroom, there weren't many people in the classroom. However, there were already a few people in the classroom. It wasn't time yet, so it wasn't strange that people hadn't arrived yet. Without Chen Sini and Zhang Xiaofeng this week, Yun Jian felt a little empty in her heart. However, Chen Sini was just recuperating and nothing happened. Chen Sini took a month's leave, but Zhang Xiaofeng only took a week's leave. Zhang Xiaofeng would probably return to school next week. Grandmaster, how is Chen Sini? Yun Jian had just placed her backpack on the desk in the classroom when a fat head popped up from the side. Zhang Jian looked at Yun Jian and asked Yun Jian, Sini is fine now. You don't have to worry. Yun Jian said she just remembered that she had promised Zhang Xiaofeng this morning. Your master asked me to thank you on his behalf. If it wasn't for you that day, Sini wouldn't have gone to the hospital so quickly for treatment, Yun Jian said to Zhang Jian. Oh, that's all. I'm just helping out. It's nothing. Being praised by Zhang Xiaofeng, especially by the killing god that he worshipped the most, Zhang Jian scratched his head in embarrassment. Yun Jian merely pursed her lips and smiled. When almost all the students in the class had arrived, it meant that class was about to start and the teacher was about to arrive. Just as the bell rang for the first self-study period in the evening, their homeroom teacher, Miss Yu, walked in with her textbooks. The moment they saw their homeroom teacher, the rowdy students in the class quieted down immediately. Good morning, students. Miss Yu clapped her hands on the podium, signaling for everyone to quiet down before she continued. The teachers had an emergency meeting last Friday, and the principal mentioned two more important matters. I believe that all of you must know about the first matter. Spring is the season when all things come back to life, so this spring outing is inevitable. The school hasn't decided on the exact location yet. The higher-ups will inform you when the time comes, and I'll let you know immediately. There's another important matter. It's about the foreign language competition on Wednesday this week. This foreign language competition is the main topic of the teachers' meeting last week. It's a competition that was announced at the last minute. All the schools in Longmen City will gather and arrange all the students who are good at speaking together. Chapter 849. The principal also mentioned this foreign language competition during the meeting last Friday. Although the notice was given at the last minute, the school's higher-ups have expressed that they attach great importance to this foreign language competition. Later, I will select a few students from our class with excellent oral English to participate in this competition. Of course, if you have excellent English but poor oral English, you won't have a chance to participate in this competition. But students, don't be discouraged. There are many similar competitions. Now, I will announce the name list of students who will participate in the foreign language competition on Wednesday. The homeroom teacher, Teacher You, stood on the podium and said a lot. The students sitting below shook their heads, and some even yawned. A foreign language competition like this would never happen to them. Therefore, some people remained in a state of half-listening state. Teacher You announced the names of 2 students in the class. When she announced the third name, she deliberately glanced at Yunjian. Then, Teacher You announced the last name with a smile. Yunjian. There were a total of 3 places. Teacher You selected the 3 students with the best oral English. After announcing the names, Teacher You also mentioned that Chen Sini and Zhang Xiaofeng had applied for leave. As for Chen Sini and Zhang Xiaofeng, Teacher You only briefly told them about their leave. She did not mention the reason. Originally, Chen Sini was also one of the candidates for this foreign language competition. However, after such an incident, she could only stay at home for a while to recuperate. After saying these things, Teacher You returned to her office with her textbooks. For the foreign language competition, Grade 3 Class A, which was Yun Jian's class, only had 3 places. Yun Jian had 1. Without a doubt, Yun Jian's foreign language results were the best among the 3 of them. Her oral English was needless to say. Moreover, when she first came to Longmen First High School, the school arranged for her to study abroad. That was to study abroad as a foreign exchange student. Yun Jian could still remember the place where she studied abroad. It was Yana High School in Country Y. Back then, she had to have good oral English to go abroad. This time, it was a foreign language competition. Although she was not going abroad, oral English was still very important. It could be said that this foreign language competition was a competition of speaking. After class, without Chen Sini and Zhang Xiaofeng chattering, Yun Jian felt a little uncomfortable. In the next few days, Yun Jian was quite idle. Although he claimed to be free, he was actually pacing back and forth between school, home, Falcon Hall, and New Cruise. Sometimes, he would go to the army to train for a while. After Chu Ning and the rest went to the military academy, Yun Jian went to the military training camp without delay. Time passed quickly, and it was Wednesday morning in the blink of an eye. In the morning, Yun Jian walked into the classroom with her backpack. She saw Zhang Jian staring at her in a daze. "Grandmaster, why are you still here? Didn't the teacher ask the 3 of you who are going to participate in the competition to gather at the school field earlier yesterday? It's almost 6 o'clock. Zhang Jian looked at Yun Jian as if he couldn't believe that Yun Jian would be late. It was only then that Yun Jian recalled that there was such a thing. Yesterday, Teacher You had specially reminded the 3 students who were going to the foreign language competition on Wednesday to come to school earlier. They had to gather at the field at 5:35 in the morning because the lead teacher would start counting the number of students. Chapter 850. Yun Jian was never a forgetful person, nor was she a sleepy person. However, even though she was a full 25 minutes late, Yun Jian did not show any signs of fear. Usually, if a high school student with good academic performance suddenly realized that he was late, and that he was late by nearly half an hour, he would definitely be scared to the point of breaking out in cold sweat. Even their steps would be shaky and their hearts would tremble, afraid that they would be scolded by the teacher. However, even though Yun Jian was late, she did not show the slightest hint of fear. With a fling of her arm, the bag in Yun Jian's hand was flung from the door to her desk in a curve. The students in the class who saw this scene were all stunned, but they quickly reacted. After all, Yun Jian was an advanced special forces soldier and the killing god of Team Monarch. It was just a school bag, so she naturally did it quite smoothly. "Let's go." Yun Jian's melodious voice was heard. Zhang Jian nodded after a slight pause. Yun Jian then turned and left the classroom, running towards the field. Zhang Jian watched Yun Jian's footsteps and could not help but take a few more looks of admiration. She's my grandmaster indeed. She's so cool. Zhang Jian exclaimed. A male classmate beside him slapped Zhang Jian's head hard and teased him. What kind of luck do you have to acknowledge Yun Jian as your grandmaster? As he spoke, his eyes were filled with envy. Zhang Jian laughed and replied, Luckily, I'm smart enough to acknowledge Zhang Xiaofeng as my master. Speaking of which, how dare you slap me? Yun Jian could not see what happened in the classroom. At that moment, Yun Jian was already striding happily to the field. All the students who had gathered for the foreign language competition were already on the bus. When Yun Jian walked over, the group of students who were already on the bus were still looking at her through the window. For a moment, Yun Jian became the center of attention, the first student who was late. There were only a few students in each class who could participate in the foreign language competition, so it was natural that the students took it seriously. However, when they saw Yun Jian's nonchalant attitude, they could not help but take a few more looks. Student, which class are you from? What's your name? Do you know that you're late? A bald male teacher saw Yun Jian and jogged over, scolding Yun Jian with a stern expression. If she was an ordinary student, she would have lowered her head and admitted her mistake after being scolded by this male teacher. However, Yun Jian only raised her head slightly to look at him. Grade 3 Class A, Yun Jian. With that, she made her way to the bus. There was only one bus parked on the field, and it was a multi-seater bus. In other words, this bus could seat a lot of people. There were not many students participating in the competition this time, and Class A was an important class, so they were given more seats. They were given 3 seats at once, while the other classes usually only had one. Student Yun Jian, wait. The bald male teacher saw that she did not pay attention to him and was unhappy. The male teacher was a rather rigid teacher who was inflexible. He had once thought that Yun Jian's behavior was disrespectful to the teacher. Yun Jian raised her eyebrows and turned around. Don't be late next time. The whole school is waiting for you. If you're late again, you won't have the chance to participate in this kind of competition in the future. These words made it sound like Yun Jian was lucky to be able to participate in this competition. Chapter 851. Actually, the bus wasn't parked here to wait for Yun Jian. The bus was parked here because it was supposed to depart after the designated time. Moreover, there were still some teachers who hadn't arrived yet. Usually, in the teacher's point of view, they would only allow themselves to be late, but not their students. If a teacher was late, they would just laugh it off. However, when a student was late, the teacher would harshly criticize the student's mistake. Some teachers would even use an unforgivable tone to criticize the student. Their crime was even more serious than a criminal on death row. Of course, if one was lucky enough to meet a good teacher, they wouldn't be criticized. Oh, after the bald male teacher finished speaking, Yun Jian indifferently spat out a word. Then, Yun Jian walked towards the bus. The bald male teacher had never seen a student like Yun Jian. Seeing that his words were ignored by Yun Jian once again, Yun Jian had already walked towards the bus. The male teacher could only clench his teeth in hatred. She was a student from grade 3 Class A, right? How dare she disregard her teachers? When he returned, he would tell this student's form teacher to discipline this student properly. Just as the male teacher was staring at Yun Jian's figure with hatred, Yun Jian had already arrived at the entrance of the bus. She stepped on the 3 steps of the bus and easily walked into the bus. There was a female teacher on the bus who was managing the order. When she saw Yun Jian get on the bus, the female teacher spoke very politely and courteously. Student, which class are you from? What's your name? The female teacher looked at Yun Jian and spoke in a rather sweet voice. Although the female teacher's appearance wasn't very eye-catching, her sweet voice was refreshing to Yun Jian. Class A, Yun Jian. Yun Jian still replied indifferently. All right, your seat is on the left of the 3rd row, by the window. The female teacher pointed at a window seat and said to Yun Jian. These seats were all arranged by the school long ago, so there was no need to fight for seats. One had to admit that the teachers of Longmin Junior High School arranged things in an orderly manner. Yunjian nodded and walked towards where the female teacher indicated. There was another girl sitting beside Yunjian, but she kept quiet when she saw Yunjian walking over. The girl was quite good-looking, but she ignored Yunjian when she saw her. Yunjian did not like to pay attention to others either, so she did not speak to the girl along the way. The foreign language competition this time was held in Longmin City's Foreign Languages High School. The most famous junior and senior high schools in Longmin City were Longmin Junior High School and DE Senior High School, respectively. The Foreign Languages High School had two departments, the junior department and the senior department. In other words, those who studied in junior high school and foreign languages high school could be promoted to senior high school. Of course, compared to the other schools, to be mentioned to each senior high school. As to be to say, each school, of course. S to the school, to the end, of course, to the point, to the school. Of course, many students in foreign languages high school knew languages that other schools did not know, such as Japanese, Korean, and so on. The competition this time was a foreign language competition, so perhaps it was a coincidence that the competition venue was set up in foreign languages high school. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.